I see South Carolina just decided to skip on right past hoodie weather, huh? It was like warm. Put your leather jacket on, Jack.
I was gonna say it depends on how thin your blood is. I don't.
Apparently, very.
Okay. All right. Well,
woke up this morning, getting ready. Thought, it's been chilly the last couple of days. I'll throw on the hoodie. Walked outside. No, it's not hoodie weather, Jack. It's straight up jacket. What happened to hoodie weather? My favorite time of the year. We just blew on past it. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in the Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's ESPN Upstate. Rob Alonzo and you here on the broadcast, taking you all the way up till 3 o'clock. Full day of stuff. The saga of Odell Beckham Jr. continues. The new saga of Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. What an absolute bleep show that's been, and we got more about it yesterday. Some of that news breaking while we were on the air. So Alonzo and I have our reactions to that today. We have got college football playoff rankings. We were a bit busy yesterday celebrating your Atlanta Braves, the 2021 World Series champions. So today on the broadcast, we go back and catch up on what we missed with the college football. We didn't miss. It's not like we didn't talk anything about it. We were just a little busy. That's all. So today we go back and we take a look at our college football playoff ratings. And Lonzo and I will give you some thoughts, some opinions that we have developed since that point in time. A lot of stuff we need to get into on the broadcast today. It is going to be absolutely busy. At 1:20, we will be joined by Mark Shelley. Mark is the voice of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, a buddy of mine on and off the air. We're going to talk some hockey as the Rabbits are underway. Got their first win on the books last Saturday at home. They have got themselves another home weekend next weekend at the house. They'll be playing next Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We'll tell you how you can be a part of that. But on top of all of that, the Rabbits are on the road this Sunday, taking on the Atlanta Gladiators for the first time. We're going to break that one down for you as well. Busy day on the broadcast. Hope you'll stick around. Phone lines are open, 844-GSP, ESPN, 844-477-3776 is the number. Text us on the Ingalls Market text line at 71307, 71307. Start your text with ESPN so we can read them on the air today. Across the glass for me, both literally and metaphorically. I got a new pen, Lonzo. I got the new Sharpie. I forgot what the name of it, but it's a gel ball pen. And now, I'm carefully tapping the glass because it's a great pen, and I don't want to lose it.
So say it looks a little more expensive compared to what you normally are flipping around over there. So, have you checked into how many drops it will take before it no longer functions?
I don't think I'm not. As a matter of fact, part of the reason I bought a $7 pen is so that I can justify making myself stop throwing the pen around while we're on the air. I
don't think it's going to work.
I won't stop. But that's why I got it. Are you a pen guy? I have found out as I have aged that I've become a pen guy. I appreciate a great pen.
I don't write enough with a pen or a pencil or anything to be labeled a guy as far as that goes. I'm more in the computer age, I guess. I do write some things down daily just so I can make sure I remember how to write, because eventually, with all the other things that are just, disappearing from my mind, eventually I won't remember how to write. So
I got to tell you that here's the nerd thing I'm going to say as I tank my own show. About 3 weeks ago, I was hanging out with a group of folks. We had gathered together for a team activity, which will remain nameless, that I am in charge of. And there are copious amounts of notes taking in this activity. And I realized that I have gotten old, because back in the day, if I had 7 people gathered around a table, it meant we were comparing and contrasting different tequilas, vodkas, and bourbons. But at 36 years old,
So what's that have to do with age?
At 30, because it's just a benchmark that I went from, hey guys, let's pass around this handle of bourbon and compare it, to, hey guys, how about this pen that I just picked up? And we were genuinely excited about it. We were genuinely like, oh man, the new Sharpie S Gel. Great pen.
All right, so if you guys were all comparing the latest issue of Reader's Digest, then you can talk about being old, okay? But I know what you're talking about, and no. And there's probably real at some point.
Roger said, dude has a $7 pen, ... Hey, 1%ers for life.
Well, yeah, that's not really a surprise. And the fact is, that thing will go by the wayside, and he'll just go and nonchalantly pick up another $7 pen.
I bought the 2-pack.
Oh, look out.
Sean says, you playing D&D, Rob? Nothing wrong with it, bro. My secrets have been discovered. I am a nerd.
Wow, like you didn't leave enough clues to...
really. Hey, Lonzo, let's do that thing we do to start the show.
Let's do lunch.
This is a very nutritious lunch. All the food groups are represented.
You guys are here. Scuttlebutt.
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
The lunch breakdown of 3 things you have to know before you go start talking sports with your friends, family, coworkers, or the dog. This will be the sports talk around the table today. Adam says Rob is a level 7 rogue. In the last game, I was. I'm a level 3 barbarian now. And yes, I do have a girlfriend. Why do you ask? All right. Item number 1 on the lunch breakdown. The 3 things you know before you go start talking sports. We learned it earlier today / last night that Deshaun Watson apparently was very, very close to having a settlement with the 22 women who have filed a civil suit against him that would have allowed him to get his name at least somewhat back into good standings and allow him to get back onto the field in the National Football League. But Tony Busby, the attorney for the 22 women, said that, quote, in what was submitted to us, there were non-disclosure agreements, and many of the women pushed back on those, end quote. Busby said he and his colleagues modified the language in the proposed non-disclosure agreements, quote, substantially, end quote, but added that, quote, there were still some women who said, I'm never going to sign that, end quote. He told Fox 26 in Houston that the NDAs were, quote, ultimately a deal breaker, end quote, in efforts to settle the cases. Now, we know that there were at least one team, maybe more, that were interested in acquiring Deshaun Watson at the trade deadline, including the Miami Dolphins. But they all cooled off, and they cooled off because those teams wanted Deshaun's lawsuits settled before they would take him on. Why? Well, I told you this earlier in the week. The reason why was because they wanted to make sure that Deshaun would be available, right? It was going to cost you a handful of high-value picks at the minimum in order to acquire Deshaun Watson. And there is a chance that even with the suits settled, that Deshaun could have faced some sort of discipline for a violation of the NFL's personnel conduct policy, meaning that even if there was no conviction, even if there were no charges, that Deshaun Watson still could have been suspended for multiple games with a question mark behind the total number of games. And because of that, some of those teams cooled off. Apparently, the owner of the Miami Dolphins, who was involved in this thing from the beginning, Stephen Ross, said that he wanted all the legal troubles off the table before he would have pulled the trigger, that he was interested, but that he needed everything settled and he needed to know the future of Deshaun Watson before he would pull the trigger on that. Well, now we have a story, and take it with a grain of salt. Take it with the whole salt shaker, because it is coming from the attorney of the 22 women. But apparently, A settlement was offered from Deshaun Watson's camp to the 22 women, but it included a very hefty non-disclosure agreement about what actually happened inside of the contract. The women said no. Some of the women said no. We are not signing that. Those settlement talks came off the table, and we will find out what comes next. Busby said in a reference to the pressure involved in settling lawsuits prior to the trade deadline, quote, now that the heat is off, and he's talking about the heat of the trade deadline. Now that the heat is off, I probably won't be getting calls from the other side wanting to settle the case. Rusty Hardin was approached for comment by ESPN, but has not responded to the story about the settlement talks. Back in July, Hardin told ESPN that Watson would not sign any settlement that included a confidentiality agreement, and that, quote, I do not want anybody to be saying that this guy paid off women to stay quiet, end quote. So Hardin said back in July that Watson would not sign anything that came with a confidentiality agreement. But now Busby, the attorney for the women, is saying that a settlement offer was made by Deshaun Watson's camp, but it did include a non-disclosure agreement inside of that, inside of the settlement offer. I do not know when or even if we will ever see the settlement offer. What I will tell you is this. Part of the reason that these NDAs are being discussed, and part of the reason I find it a little bit shocking that there would have been NDAs included, and not shocking that there would have been NDAs included, but shocking that there may have been a blanket settlement with NDAs included, is because, remember, the personal conduct policy of the National Football League does not require a player to be charged or convicted in order to be a violation of the personal conduct policy. Meaning that if Deshaun Watson was to have settled these 22 lawsuits, Roger Goodell and the NFL could have still found him in violation of the personal conduct policy and suspended him for X amount of games.
Yeah, but if you put in a non-disclosure agreement, it's an admission of guilt, at least in the public eyes, and probably to the NFL also. That means there are some things that you don't want the public to know. That means you're admitting that you did something, and you don't want people to know what it was.
In the eyes of the public, and remember, in the eyes of the National Football League, because it is up to them if he gets to play or not. And they have suspended named quarterbacks before. Remember, it was back in 2010 when Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Ben Roethlisberger was suspended for 6 games for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy. Roger Goodell handed that punishment down a week after prosecutors decided not to charge Ben Roethlisberger in a case involving a 20-year-old college student who accused him of sexually assaulting her at a nightclub in Georgia. So Roethlisberger was not charged. He was not convicted, but he still got 6 games. And it is more than likely that had Deshaun Watson settled these 22 suits with a blanket NDA across the top, that the league would have stepped in and done the same thing. That's my guess. And that is also part of my guess why the settlement with an NDA was ultimately not signed. The women said, Tony Busby said the women did not sign. My bet would be that a couple of these women likely would have accepted a settlement with an NDA. I don't know that for a fact. That's just a guess. I suspect some of the women would have accepted the settlement even with the NDA. But if even 4 of them, 3 of them, 4 of them said, I'm not accepting this because I want to be able to talk out about it, I want to be able to tell my side of the story publicly, then Deshaun's not off the hook, right? He's still not a trade acquisition for the Dolphins or anybody else because the issues aren't off the table, which then at that point makes it sense that he would retract the settlement offer to all 22 because why not? You weren't going anywhere anyway. You weren't getting traded. You weren't getting played, and you still don't know if you're going to get hit with a personal conduct violation ban of 6 or 10 or 17 games. Who knows? So why not pull them all back and start the whole process over from the beginning, because at this point, it's relatively clear that Deshaun will not be playing football until at least next year, if not later.
So what's the end game for Houston, though? What do you do? Do you cut him loose? I mean, I don't know what they should do here. And if you were going to cut him loose, why didn't they do it already? Why are they still hanging on to him? I mean, obviously, before the trade deadline, I get it. Although if someone would have traded for him, I would have been completely shocked. I still can't believe there were actually serious talks about it with all this stuff still going on. And maybe they were under the impression that the settlement would happen before the trade, and then they know they would have him for next year. But if you're Houston, don't you just cut him loose, or do you keep him and still have to deal with this baggage coming into next year?
So that's a question. In fact, somebody from ESPN earlier, I wish I could remember who it was. I saw it very early this morning and my brain was not awake yet. But somebody from ESPN asked the question, what do the Texans do if Deshaun shows up today and says, hey guys, you know what? I've changed my mind. I want to be a Texan. I'm ready to play. Do you play him now? He's eligible to play. To this day, he's not on the exempt list. He's eligible to play right now. Do you play him? If you're not going to play him, why is he on the 53-man roster, right? He's eligible to suit up this weekend if they want him to. Why is he taking up a spot on the 53-man if there's no intention of playing him? And even with everything attached to his name, even with everything attached to Deshaun, the guy is still going to have a huge amount of money attached to him when it's trade time, because the team that benefits from Deshaun is not the Houston Texans. The team that benefits from Deshaun is the team that ultimately makes the move and then gets to say, we take these allegations off the field very, very seriously. We are going to work with Deshaun. We're going to put him through therapy. We're going to put him through training. We're going to put him through rehab. We're going to put him through all this stuff because we believe everyone deserves a second chance. And we are going to give Deshaun Watson his second chance to be a better person, a better football player, to learn and grow from his mistakes. We are going to put him through sensitivity training so that he is a better person moving forward. And then they're going to get Deshaun Watson on the football field. That's how this works. It's how it's happened before. It's how it'll happen again. The only question mark is what plays out between now and then. And how does Houston handle it now that they know that there was a blanket settlement offered, but ultimately rejected and then withdrawn by Watson's team? Texture says, Rob, the reason they didn't accept the NDAs is for book deals and appearance views on Oprah. I mean, are they not allowed to tell their story? Are they not allowed to tell their story? You can look at them, as I'm sure many of you do, and go, oh, a bunch of gold diggers looking to cash in on what happened. If what happened is proven to be true, are they just supposed to shut their mouths and not tell anybody? No. This is a situation that's created when something like this happens. They have the right to tell their story too. And if society decides we want to give them money for this story, it is what it is.
I find it funny you say if it happened, and I know we got to wait. But do we? Now the fact that NDAs were a part of the settlement, any doubt I had is gone. And I think that's most people would say the same thing.
Texas says, if the ladies can't prove it, then they probably should have taken it. There is still no criminal case. So in my non-professional opinion, that likely means there is no legal route. Well, again, there's multiple angles in play here. There is no criminal case yet, but there is a criminal investigation. An investigation does not mean charges will ever be brought. The HPD may ultimately get to the point where they go, there's just no way to corroborate this, right? But we know that they have subpoenaed and received Instagram DMs between Deshaun and these masseuses. We know that they are investigating multiple text messages between Deshaun and some of these masseuses / Instagram models. We know these things. The investigation is ongoing. Does not mean criminal charges will or will not be brought. But the lawsuits that are in right now are civil lawsuits. There does not have to be a crime that someone is charged with for a civil suit to go forward. And if Deshaun does indeed settle or loses a civil suit, the NFL is going to frown on that one too. Texas says non-disclosure agreements may appear like the defendant has something to hide. However, it is also the only way Watson can prevent these women from taking the money and then saying things they may or may not have ever happened. Why pay them if they are going to get paid to slander you on TV? And yeah, I get it.
No, that's a good point. But I'm just saying, in the court of public opinion, as soon as you see that or you hear that, the first thing you think is, dude is guilty.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want him to talk about it.
I said that last week before this story even broke. I said, look, if he settles all 22 at one time, the NFL's going to hit him with the ban hammer. They're going to do it because that looks like a confession. And I can name you a bunch of court cases, civil court cases, where the defendant has settled with the plaintiff because it's cheaper and easier to do it. If someone sues you in civil court for $1 million, and then there says that they're willing to settle for $5,000, you settle. Because the cost of attorneys and the time of prepping a case and going to court and all that may be worth more than $5,000. Not saying it's ethical, but that's sometimes an easier way to get out of the lawsuit than having to go through a court. All right, 844-477-3776, 844-GSP-ESPN. Text us on the Ingles Market text line at 71307. Let's take a break. We're back after this. Rob Alonzo, you at ESPN Upstate.
QC Kinetics.
Say about my friends at QC Kinetics. If you are somebody who enjoys activities like fill in the blank, or perhaps you like fill in the blank, or maybe you're a big fan of fill in the blank, you know that joint pain can be your worst enemy. You like going and riding the bike, getting some swimming in, maybe just like wrestling around on the floor with the grandkids. But you know that when you do, your knees are going to kill you from that bike ride the day before. Your shoulders are going to be inflamed because of that swimming you did the day before. Your lower back and your hips are going to hurt the next day just because you wanted to roll around on the floor with your grandkids. What if I told you that there is a way to regenerate the connective tissue inside those joints to get rid of that inflammation and to get rid of that pain? And what if I told you that you could do it right here in the upstate and not have to go under the knife to make it happen, not have to get cut open, not have to get surgery, anesthesia, drugs, steroids, etc.? Well, that is what I'm telling you. That's what our friends at QC Kinetics are offering to you right now. Go to QCkinetics.com, QCKINETIX.com.
Keegan, that's a great point. I think he absolutely should do that.
I don't think you can wear the hat though.
No, I was going to say.
The hat has
Hey, I'm going bowling. So what? So what? I like to bowl.
As far as drivers who have been most successful at Phoenix, of active drivers, Kevin Harvick easily has the most wins there with 9, while Kyle Busch has 3. Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin, and Ryan Newman have each won there twice, while Martin Truex Jr., Chase Elliott, and Kurt Busch each have one win at Phoenix. Download the Score.
So how's everybody on the stream? Welcome in. Good to have you guys.
Sports apps. With your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update, I'm Matt Pauley.
High school football fans, I'm Cole Bryson. Get the scores, discussion, interviews, and more on the Saturday Morning Scramble powered by Founders Federal Credit Union. Every Saturday from 8 to 10 a.m. The snap. It's reverse. White Meadows, right side. Touchdown. Way
Saturday morning scramble. ESPN Upstate everywhere on the Odyssey app. Powered by Angels Mall, official grocery store of the Saturday morning scramble. Mad World Haunted Attraction is now open.
Man, you guys really are thin-blooded if you think this is winter.
Bro, it is cold.
Wait till tonight. It's going to be colder tonight than it was last night.
Oh,
Roger, protect yourself. I hear tinfoil helps a great deal.
so I got to the bar last night that I was hosting trivia at, and the guy that's the bartender there, loves the show. He listens every day. So I get there and I sit in like the corner of the bar at a table facing out. And when I get there, the table is covered with printed out chemtrail memes. He has put the whole table
that's
covered in
great.
chemtrail memes.
That is great.
He's like, dude, I got in my car to listen to sports. And I got Braves, chemtrails, Braves.
This report is sponsored by DuckDuckGo. Protect your privacy for free with DuckDuckGo.
Oh, you know what I didn't do? I just realized I didn't get our I'm going to have to put our picks together before the next hour.
Ah, you got plenty of time.
Yeah, but now I got to work while I'm working. Not a fan.
There's the rest, and then there's the best. You're listening to the best sports Broadcasters Association.
All right, away we go. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's ESPN Upstate. Yesterday, on Wednesday, I host the bar trivia game at night. Hey, it's something to do. Make a little extra scratch, hang out, have a couple of beers. So I'm hosting a bar trivia game last night. And as I get to the bar, Adam, who's the manager / bartender there, I get to the bar and I walk up to the little table. They sit me in the corner of the bar. And I walk up and Adam has put all over the top of the table chemtrail memes that he printed out off the internet. So the table I'm sitting on is just covered in chemtrail memes. And he goes, dude, I got in the car to drive to work yesterday, ready for some sports talk. And I get Braves, Aaron Rodgers, chemtrails, Braves, Twitter. I'm like, yeah, well, what do you want?
So you got some entertainment and then you got some real life.
Yeah.
And then you got some more entertainment.
Yeah.
Because, chemtrails, real life.
All right, couple of texts that are coming on. Texture says, Rob, maybe it was consensual, but maybe they were pressured into being consensual. No criminal act, it's still a terrible thing that deserves reparation. Well, look, a thing is either consensual or it's not, right? An activity like that is either consensual or it's not.
There's no maybe in there.
Yeah.
There's no maybe at all.
Yeah, there's no, it was not consensual until it was forced into. If you are forced into consenting, that's not consent. All right? And that's where this is going to come down. And if it's forced consent, that's sexual assault. All right? That's just what it is. Texter says, does a criminal case against Watson exempt the masseuses from prostitution charges? No. So they won't prosecute Watson criminally, as they cannot charge Watson without charging the women for taking the money. This is only about taking his money. With all due respect, Texter, no. No, that's not necessarily the case, right? Because this happened and then they took money, right? That does not make it prostitution. If the acts committed were non-consensual at the time, and then Watson threw money at him, and I'm not saying that's what happened. It doesn't matter if he handed it to them. If it was a non-consensual act, and then after it was over, Watson said, here's your $1,000 and walked out the door, that is still a non-consensual act and therefore sexual assault. That's why there's a criminal charge open. Them taking the money, if it was indeed sexual assault, does not mean that they have done something wrong. This is still on Deshaun Watson. Texter says, I am aware, and I'm telling you right now, there will be no criminal charges. 99% sure. Also, on the court of public opinion, people will forget in 1 year and he goes back to playing quarterback. nobody cares. I disagree that nobody cares. Absolutely disagree. Do I think that Deshaun Watson will eventually play football again? Yes, I do. I think he will. Just like I said a minute ago, there will be a team that will trade for Deshaun. They will put him through sensitivity training, assuming that he's not charged, assuming that he's not convicted, and assuming that he doesn't spend significant time in jail, which I don't know if he will or not.
See, I disagree with you. I'm not sure he plays ever again. This thing going as long as it has, I mean, every time you think, okay, it's got to be over soon, right? It's goes the trade deadline's out, and this is happening, and it's not over, and it's still ongoing. When did this whole thing? When did the first accusation happen? It was last year, wasn't it? I mean, so it's been a year and nothing has happened. I'm not so sure he plays again.
It was off season, so it hasn't quite been a year. It's probably been like, what, 8 months or so? 7 months since this whole thing started? I think Deshaun ends up on another team next year. Not that he'll play for that team, because again, he does not need to be charged with, nonetheless convicted of a crime for a personal conduct policy violation to go into play from the NFL. That's what happened with Ben Roethlisberger, right? Prosecutors in Georgia ended up saying there's not enough here to charge Ben Roethlisberger with a crime. Therefore, we're not going to do that. And the NFL still said, okay, but the situation's bad enough that we're going to consider it a violation of the personal policy conduct, and we're going to suspend you, which they have the right to do, just like any other business, right? If our boss comes in here and tells Lonzo and I, you're not allowed to wear blue shirts anymore. No more blue shirts. And then 2 weeks later, Lonzo and I come in here with blue shirts on, he can go, violation of policy, you're suspended without pay for a week. And that is fine because the policy was clear. We violated it. We're out. I will also tell you, and this is on me, I don't know what's in the NFL's personal conduct policy. I should. In fact, I'm going to make a note to go read it.
I'm wondering if that's an evolving thing, if it changes from year to year.
I'm sure it is, like any other business, right? Your policies are going to change as you go. But there's something in there right now that people who are smarter than I am, who are much more familiar with this than I am, have said repeatedly there's a very good chance. And if Ben Roethlisberger, who was accused of sexual assault by one woman in a bathroom at a nightclub in Georgia, triggered a 6-game suspension, what's Deshaun going to do when he gets hammered for 22 of the exact same charges?
Can they do time served because Houston hasn't played them?
I'm going to say no, because this is not a disciplinary suspension, right?
Isn't it though? Isn't it? I mean, you don't have to come out and say it.
Not necessarily, because remember, all the first accusations came after we found out Deshaun wanted out of Houston. Now, maybe he wanted out of Houston because he knew the accusations were coming. And he was like, let me get up out of this state before they start hammering me and fight it from afar. But we learned Deshaun wanted out of Houston and I remember, because we talked about it on the air when the reports started flowing, because I said, absolutely, I support Deshaun, because Houston is a mess. Houston is a mess. You got an owner in Cal McNair who is disconnected from reality. You got names like Easterby who are trying to run it like it is a church camp. You got a coach in Cully who, that ain't the role he's supposed to be in. You got Nick Caserio, who's more concerned about whether or not Bill Belichick likes him than if his teamer is good or not. I supported Deshaun getting out of Houston because Houston is a dumpster fire of a franchise right now. And then a couple weeks later, the accusations came in. So I think Deshaun was likely getting traded out of Houston because he doesn't want to be there. I think Houston probably doesn't. I mean, they want him to be there, but they don't want him to be there when he's being, when he's angry about being there. And I think Houston would have absolutely traded Deshaun Watson but nobody wants him now because of these 22 lawsuits. So I don't think you can really count him sitting out right now as a disciplinary decision so much as he doesn't want to play for the Texans. Therefore, the Texans aren't going to put him on the field. The Texans would have traded him, but nobody else wants to trade him or trade for him. Nobody wanted to trade for him. So therefore, it's not really disciplinary so much as that's what happens. So we'll see how it plays out.
How does this whole thing end up being if Houston was a great team on the edge of doing something?
If they were a great team on the edge of doing something, it would mean they had competent management and Deshaun wouldn't have wanted out in the first place. Now, if Deshaun was happy with the Texans, as the Texans were happy with Deshaun, if there was no trade desire, I think Deshaun's probably playing right now. But
even with all the accusations.
And there's a question. If Deshaun was happy with the Texans and the Texans were happy with Deshaun and they were a good team, I don't think the Texans are looking at trading him, but I think the NFL would have come down preseason and put him on the exempt list, right? I think the NFL would have said, we know you're good. We know Deshaun makes you good, but with 22 lawsuits, we can't let that guy be on the field right now. He's on the exempt list. He cannot play. I think the NFL at that point would have stepped in and said, no go as it stands today. All right. 844-477-3776. Text us on the Ingles Market text line at 71307. Start your text with ESPN so we can read them on the air. We'll take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. NCAA college football playoff rankings drop earlier in the week. Lonzo and I gave you a kind of a quick preview of our thoughts yesterday on the show. We're going to hammer down on those when we come back on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. I'm going to blow my nose, guys.
Because it's apparently winter here. That's why.
Spectrum Mobile is reinventing wireless again. Get unlimited on 2+ lines for $29.99 a month per line. No contracts, no added taxes or fees. Includes nationwide 5G. Save up to 60% with Spectrum Mobile. Get unlimited on 2+ lines for $29.99 a month. Call 855-438-2999 or visit the store near you. Offer valid for new customers on 2+ unlimited plans. Spectrum Internet required. Savings based on 2-line comparison of unlimited plans from major national carriers as of 9/2021. Prepaid excluded. Restrictions apply.
Dell Technologies' biggest business sale of the year has arrived. Step up your vision with top tech up to 45% off during their early access Black Friday event. Dell Technologies recommends Windows 11 Pro for business. Plus, get incredible savings on Windows 11 PCs, along with servers, monitors, and docks, all with free shipping. There's also special financing with Dell Business Credit. Get started by contacting your Dell Technologies advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
Well, yes, Tommy, we are, because every Thursday night we bowl in a thing called Stoneman's Bad Bowlers Club, and this is the final night. So for a little while, unless we accidentally do it, we are wearing matching shirts. But they're not really matching because my name's on mine and his name's on his, and we have different logos. So kind of matching, but not entirely. And I will say, as a poor children growing up on the south side of Columbus, Ohio, I always dreamt of having my own bowling shirt, and now I have it. And dream come true. Once again, thank you, radio.
We dream big around here. And yes, we are wearing matching bowling shirts for the Stoneman Bad Bowler Club, which we should hype. Let's see if we can get some people to come out tonight for the last one.
The final one.
For now.
Thank you for your approval, Tommy.
Tommy is the bassist in my band.
Ah.
Oh, by the way, you know what I haven't told you guys yet? It is confirmed. Rob's first appearance at a South Carolina Gamecock game will be this Saturday night when the Gamecocks welcome the Gators of Florida to Willie B. Night game. I had been going back and forth about trying to decide what game would be the first, like what game I was going to make my debut at. I was going to put it off to South Carolina Clemson. Like, I thought that's obviously.
I was going to say, yeah, you're kind of running out of time, you know.
Yeah, I was thinking, because I'm going to stay in town for Thanksgiving. I'm going home for Christmas, but I'm going to stay in town for Thanksgiving. So I thought maybe I'll do the Palmetto State rivalry, right? Let's do a little Clemson, South Carolina. But the lady friend obviously being a Gamecock fan, the fact that we were able to get some good tickets for Saturday, and if it's anything like the stadiums I've been to in the past, Doak Campbell in Tallahassee, Ben Hill Griffin in Gainesville, Tiger Stadium, the other Death Valley down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana,
The real one.
Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Bryant-Denny Stadium. College football games are better at night, Lonzo. They're better under the lights, right? Everybody's had a full day of tailgating. Everybody's in rare form. College football games are better at night than they are in the daytime. So I figured, tickets, night game, let's go.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good choice, but it's you're there for the rowdy. You're there for the non-family friendly.
Oh,
and
yeah, that's a little deep.
Yeah, but it's kind of that way though at night games. Just about anywhere you go at night games.
I've been told, and you may be able to confirm this for me, I've been told that South Carolina sets the record almost annually for most fans ejected per game.
Yeah. I wonder where you heard that from over and over and over again, and probably we'll hear it again today. Tune into the other show. No, I don't care if he gets mad. He says that entirely way too much and has made enemies, but that's fine. Not of me, because I love the guy. I'd hug him right now if he was in the room. I haven't witnessed any ejections when I've been there. And there's a couple of ways you can look at it. You can look at it, well, they're just these people are just out of hand, and so they're getting ejected. Or you can look at it as the stadium is ruled with an iron hand, and these guys don't let things get crazy.
See, that's what I was going to ask. Yeah. Is it blamed on South Carolina fans getting rowdy? Because I've been in some stadiums like South Bend, Indiana, Notre Dame. I went there for a game back in 2004 or 5. I flew up to South Bend for FSU Notre Dame. One of my very best friends in high school, her uncle worked at Notre Dame, and I had just gotten on the radio. And obviously, being in Destin, an hour and 45 minutes from Tallahassee, we covered FSU a lot. And so she called him and was like, "Hey, man, I got a buddy. He covers FSU, and I've always said, like, my dream is to hit as many major college football stadiums as I can." And so he's like, "You know what? I got 2 tickets. Why don't you fly on up? I'll put you up for a couple nights. We'll take you to the game, show you around." I went to South Bend, and security at South Bend, Indiana, Lonzo, no shenanigans nor tomfoolery up there in South Bend, Indiana. As soon as they even think there might be a problem, they're like, "All right, we're going to have to ask you to leave now." Is Willie B that rowdy on a Saturday night, or does campus security just be like, "Hey, we're gonna sniff this out before it even gets a chance to escalate"?
All right, so I've been to games at both stadiums, and I will tell you that I've seen more rowdy, out of control, combative fans at Clemson games than I have at South Carolina games. And there may be a good old boy system down there on the cow pastures where they nod, wink, wink, turn their head and let the people go. And down in the Capitol, it might be a little more strict. That's all I'm saying. And it's not like you're not going to have a good time, because Rob Brown, I believe, is not the guy going looking for a fight.
No.
I mean, you're going to have a good time, enjoy the game, enjoy the people around you, and you absolutely will.
I've never, I don't know. I take pride in this. I don't care if anybody judges me. I've never been in a fight in my life, mainly because, Lonzo, it seems like getting punched in the face hurts.
It does.
Yeah, I've been told.
It absolutely does.
I've been told. And so being a words guy, I've always done my best to talk my way out of getting punched in the face. Because, again,
Well, as you may have
Seems like
noted by my statements, sometimes I say things that make people want to punch me in the face. So, I mean, and
Oh, I didn't say there weren't people who wanted to. I said I have talked my way out of getting punched in the face. So I'm curious. I'm curious. But as I do with other games, I'm going as a neutral observer. I'm going as an independent observer. I have my bias in that
are you though?
in
I
that
mean,
the young lady sitting next
yeah,
to me
I mean, you know,
has a favored persuasion of football.
and if you want the person that you're going with to have a good time, then you need to cheer
Yeah, I'll
who
be a
they're
Gamecock.
cheering for.
I'm
I
gonna
mean,
be a Gamecock
you
fan.
know,
I'll be a Gamecock fan for a day. I haven't gotten to yet, so I might as well start. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. So South Carolina fans, hit me on the text line at 71307. My first time at Willie B. I've been to the stadium. We drove by it when Lonzo went and I. What did we had to go to Columbia. What did we go pick up in Columbia? We had to pick something up.
that would be the trophy for the best sports show in all
That's right.
of the great state
That's
of South
right.
Carolina.
They
yeah.
summoned us
Yes.
to Columbia.
Downtown. We went down there.
Yep.
Yeah, we did that.
And then the lady friend and I, she gave me the tour of the campus. So I've seen the campus and I've been around the campus. Y'all in South Carolina love to build y'all college campuses on top of some damn hills, don't you? Y'all love a hill. Y'all love a hill. You know there's places that are just flat. You don't have to walk uphill every
Really?
direction, right?
You look out the window and show me some flat.
It's flat right here. There's no hills where we are.
It is not flat. Agree.
Y'all
There's no
love-
flat.
Y'all love a damn hill. Anyway, South Carolina fans, hit me on the text line 71307. We will be headed over to South Carolina in the AM portion of the day to spend the day in the Cola, followed by a dance number between the Gators and the Gamecocks on the field at Willie B at 7:30 p.m. Be covering that live for you while I'm over there. Hit me with the must-dos on the text line, 71307. What must I do in the Cola to enjoy my day? Are you hearing phone numbers or am I going crazy? I hear a phone ringing.
I don't hear a phone ringing. No, I do not hear a phone ringing.
There is absolutely a damn phone ringing somewhere, and I can't. What is happening? What is going on?
There's a possibility you're getting bleed through your headphones from somewhere, but I don't know where. There's nothing on the board. How loud do you have your headphones?
No, it's like very, very faint, like a ghost is making a phone call in my ears.
Maybe you're afraid something
y'all
you said is going to get you a phone.
Hearing that? Is it coming over the radio? Did somebody else besides me hear phone dialing and a phone ringing? Like very distinctly? I said I didn't believe ghosts on Monday, and now they're coming after me, but they're doing it by calling collect.
Yes, I have communed with the ghosts, and we're going to make an effort.
You have an incoming phone call from Edgar Allan Poe. Do you wish to accept the charges?
One night as I pondered, weak and weary.
Rob, you must bring earplugs because that damn chicken crows when they gain 1 yard. Rob, best thing to do in Columbia is to leave. Back after this to wrap up hour one on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. I swear to you, I heard a phone ringing, and the first time I didn't say anything because I'm like, no, I'm hearing things. And then the second time, I'm like, that's a phone. And then while I was talking the third time, the phone started ringing in my ear. It was a digital phone, and I heard it.
Let me just say that, it's possible that my ears are clogged with snot. It's very possible because I've been dealing with allergies for 3 weeks now. I didn't hear anything. And I believe my ears are still pretty good. So that's why I'm saying maybe the wires for your headphones are unshielded. And if they're unshielded wires, you're picking up
Like a
signals.
bleed over?
Yeah. That is a possibility. Remember early on when the band was practicing, even out on the compound, we had some unshielded wires for cables going to some speakers, and it was like picking up people on phones and CBs and all kinds of stuff. In the middle, and then finally it's one of those things, in a quiet moment you don't hear it, and finally we heard it and we figured out what it was. Then I remembered my schooling and did some troubleshooting.
My schooling.
back in the day in Chillicothe, Ohio, at the recording workshop. Keegan wants to know if you have a concussion.
I'm in protocols.
There are symptoms for that.
Roger says stay out of Five Forks. We went to Five Forks when we were over there for the award ceremony.
Yeah,
for the
I'm
award
just
that
getting the places to hang in Five
Now,
Forks.
Five Forks is like the bar district, right? It's
Right.
like the bar
Whenever what they just again it's not
Five Forks is a bar district, which means I'll definitely be finding Five Forks. No, we drove through Five Forks. Well, actually, we stopped at Five Forks. We went there on what night was the ceremony? Saturday night. So
Yeah.
we went there on
Yeah, it was
Sunday
Saturday night.
morning. Well, late morning, early afternoon, because we were going to meet Corey Diaz, our Gamecock reporter, because he's over there. But we had like 2 hours to kill. So she's like, "Well, let me show you Five Forks. That's where all the bars and everything are." So we went to Five Forks. And everything was closed. It was creepy. It was like a ghost town. And I'm not used to that, but I guess that's South Carolina rules. But we went to Five Forks and everything was closed, which is weird because when I went to college, our bar district was open 7 days a week, pretty much around the clock. Five Forks is in Simpsonville for the 1%ers. With friends like these, who needs an enemies?
Keegan's feeling it today.
I know. Just in time for Christmas, Zoe's Mike is doing the Charlie Brown teacher again.
Well, part of it is all the bass in my voice because
clearly what it is.
Yeah, because I've noticed on the speaker in the bathroom, it kind of does that, and can't help it. It's my sinuses.
So this guy just got a tattoo that he said he's very proud of. It's a tattoo of Black Jesus. That's James Harden, dog. That's James Harden. Tell me that's not James Harden.
I can't get over where the tattoo is.
Right.
Something's kind of sticking out there.
But
I just saying. You
Man,
know.
I'm gonna show you on the stream, so I'm not just going crazy. All right, we got a lot of stuff to get to on the broadcast today. Coming up the next hour, college football playoff rankings underway. We know the initial rankings, and this may shock some of you guys. I'm not super thrilled with the playoff rankings, not just because I had to give Lonzo $1 on the stream yesterday, okay? Which if you're not watching the stream, you should. Go to facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, twitter.com.
I'm thinking of
ESPN Upstate.
framing that, by the way. I left it at home. I'm trying to decide what would be the proper frame for that.
I accept that. So, not a big fan of the playoff rankings, the initial playoff rankings that were let go. Not a big fan. We're going to break down why. Because I've got 2 or 3 situations where I feel like the rankings put out by the College Football Playoff Committee earlier this week go in direct contrast to things that they have said in the past. And I'll give you the preview. For instance, the College Football Playoff Committee has said multiple times in the past that when they are ranking teams, that they do not take the brand of the team nor success in previous seasons into consideration. Hey, Lonzo, who's ranked number 2 in the playoff rankings? Do you remember off the top of your head?
That would be Alabama.
That is correct. Eli Gold. That is correct. Hey, Lonzo, You remember who's ranked number 8 in the playoff rankings? It's not OH. I was doing an OU.
I was going to say Oklahoma.
Yeah, that is correct. The undefeated.
I know OH.
Oklahoma
and you're
Sooners.
right. That was not OH.
However, the one-loss Boomer Sooners are ranked well ahead of undefeated Oklahoma. It's almost as if, and I'm speculating here, pure speculation. We're going to dive deeper into this in the next segment. I am speculating here that the reason that those two teams are where they are is because of branding, and I'm talking about Alabama and Ohio State. We're going to see Lonzo's reaction to that coming up, is because of branding and previous season's success, which is in direct contrast to what the playoff committee has said they will utilize as rankings moving forward. It almost seems like that's not true, but not in college football, right? Not in college football because it's not a business, it's a passion. That's what I've been told so many times. So we'll break that down coming up in the next segment of the show. At 1:20, Mark Shelley is the voice of your Greenville Swamp Rabbits. We're going to break down their season so far. Tough 1-0 loss on the road to South Carolina last night. They get a chance for redemption this Sunday when they take on the Atlanta Gladiators. We're going to look ahead to that game and next week's homestand as well. All that more coming up in the next hour of the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
Presents your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update powered by The Score. While the Braves continue to bask in the glory of their World Series championship, a few notes as they go into the offseason. First off,
No Rashad today?
Oh, crap. That's right. I completely blanked. Good call. That's why you're in charge.
on Saturday, so he watched the World Series clincher at home. He only told Brian Snitker and team chairman Terry McGurk about the diagnosis not to be a distraction. The Braves have announced that their parade is going to take place on Friday. Also looking at their
BRB stream. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's ESPN Upstate. I must apologize, as I have been informed that either a texter is wrong or is screwing with me, because the bar district in Columbia is not 5 Forks, Lonzo. It is 5 Points.
Yeah, 5 Forks is I think it's like a town.
I guess.
But here's the thing. It's easy to mess with you on that, because what do I No, I mean, it is 5 points, though.
Yeah.
Now that it's been said.
Yes. I was told it was 5 Forks. I have been corrected multiple times, as a matter of fact.
Now you should do it on purpose.
So we're heading to 5 Forks on Saturday.
Which is,
I don't think who has organized this little field trip for me may very well unorganize it for me if I keep doing that.
You don't want to do that. Hey,
5 points it is.
Are we wearing Carolina blue?
I'm gonna. It's a little darker.
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's a little darker, but it's close.
Close to some Panther colors.
Speaking of the Carolina Panthers, Lonzo, in the radio business, we call that a segue. To the phone lines we go to welcome in the young man who joins us every Thursday at this time to talk a little Carolina Panther football. He is the host of the Panther Nation podcast. You can find them on Twitter at Panther Nation PC, or check them out on YouTube, where they post videos, including reaction videos on Sundays, full breakdowns on Monday, and they go live with fantasy football stuff before that. I mean, it's content from wall to wall, and the guy in charge of it all is my man Rashad Beard, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show. Shad, what up, fella?
Robinzo, what's up? All is well, coming off a W. I'm happy.
Yeah, man.
Pretty good.
Yeah, man. You know, I got to tell you, look, I thought Carolina and Atlanta were a pair of relatively well-matched teams going into that. The week before, they lost to a Giants team they should have just over-talented. Then they turn around, go into Atlanta, and not just win, but really take away most of what the Falcons wanted to do. Overall, a solid performance from a Falcons team that last week, Rashad, we were from a Panthers team that last week we were just both going, let's hope they put a competent game together.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, it's Jekyll and Hyde. We don't know what team we're going to get week to week, but I can tell you that the game plan that they put together worked. And so they went after the weakness of that Falcons defense, and that's the interior. They don't have the dogs up front. And I didn't think we had the dogs up front, but it appears that we can run the ball successfully when we try. We ran the ball, 47 times for 200 plus yards. I mean, the game plan worked. I mean, you put your quarterback in a position to succeed, limiting his throws, making them look good. And I like it. It was a well thought out, easy game plan to execute. And defensively, they did what they had to do. And you can see, and we talked about this last week, right? You see what happens when the defense has time to rest. You extend drives. When you go, 10 of 17 on third down, you're extending drives. You're moving the football. You're keeping your defense on the sideline, letting them breathe a little bit. When they had a chance to breathe, they can pin their ears back and actually get after the quarterback, sacking Matt Ryan a few times and picking him off a couple times as well. So great overall game by the Panthers, and I'm happy, especially when the victory is over the Atlanta Falcons.
Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast, joins us here on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. One of the things that we talked about was in the early portion of last week. Matt Rule said, or 2 weeks ago, excuse me, where you're going to see a vastly different offense. We're going to run the ball more. We're going to take the ball out of Sam Darnold's hands in clutch situations so that he's a little more comfortable. They didn't do that against the Giants. In fact, in the first half against the Giants, if I recall correctly, it was like the worst run-pass ratio of the season. But then this weekend, they did that. They ran the ball more. Sam Darnold looked much more comfortable in the pocket as linebackers were having to bail out to be prepared for the run, etc. I got to tell you, I was really impressed with what Joe Brady and Matt Rule put together this past weekend, because they did what they said they were going to do. And more importantly, Rashad, it freaking worked.
Yeah, it worked. And you know what? I think also they didn't telegraph it, right? They didn't display to the whole world that we're going to run the football 47 times. Like they did the week prior for the Giants game. They went out, they said they were going to do it. The Giants were prepared for it. They stopped it. And so I think that, yes, when you don't go out there and give your game plan out, especially when you have questionable offensive linemen, I think that helped too. But I agree with you. I was definitely impressed, and I think one of the factors that really helped out was the addition of Amir Abdullah. Amir Abdullah really went out there and was able to do Christian McCaffrey-like things. I'm not saying he's Christian McCaffrey, not saying that by any means, but he was able to run those Texas routes out of the backfield. He was able to run that wheel route out of the backfield, giving Sam Darnold somebody to throw to when he did throw the football. Amir Abdullah had a couple of catches out of the backfield, and they were also able to run the football 5.5 yards per carry, or almost 5.5 yards per carry. So when you're able to do that, and you give Sam Darnold a weapon out of the backfield just to dump it off to, maybe it's his first read and he gets open, he's a good route runner out of the backfield, I think that helped out Sam Darnold a lot. And again, I think he was able to hit his first read. He didn't have to hold on to the football. He was very decisive. He made the decision, got rid of the football quick, and I think that's what we need to see out of Sam Darnold moving forward. Hopefully, and again, I'm not saying the game plan of running the football 47 times per game is going to work every week. Obviously, yesterday's game plan may not work on today's game plan. You won't be able to do that potentially against the Patriots. So you're going to have to find new ways to get rid of the football quick. But for that particular game, it worked, and I loved it.
Rashad Beard joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. And let's talk about Darnold for just a second. Now, he's in concussion protocol, so I believe, unless you have updated info, Rashad, still waiting to find out what his status will be on Sunday. But Darnold looked much more composed this past weekend. He looked much more comfortable. I absolutely believe that was a direct result of the run game being more efficient and effective, but the mistakes seem limited. We've gone back and forth, and I know you and your co-host David have gone back and forth about whether Sam Darnold can be the guy or not. But between the first 3 games of the season and how he looked this past weekend, I don't know if I'm putting Sam Darnold in the Carolina Panthers Ring of Honor quite yet, but he showed he can be competent enough to win games, Rashad, and that's the foundation you got to start with.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think we have to kind of hone in on what we're defining as competent, right? I think that when it comes to franchise quarterback, and you're talking about a guy you're going to really put the team on their shoulders, Sam Darnold's not that, right? If you go into it with that expectation, then you're going to set yourself up for failure. But again, I said the same thing about Teddy Bridgewater. You don't need an elite quarterback to go out and win a Super Bowl. We've seen it time and time again, whether it's Nick Foles, Brad Johnson in the past, Joe Flacco. These guys aren't elite quarterbacks, and they had things around them. They had good defenses. They had good offensive lines. So Sam Darnold's not going to be able to do it by himself. And I think he went out there. And one thing I think we talked about as well, we talked about the dog, right? We talked about whether Sam had that dog in him. He has to show some things. And I think he showed a level of dog in him on Sunday that I liked. Like, he wasn't rah-rah, but the dude was, I mean, to go out there and put your body on the line like that, and I know he was concussed and went out, but to go out there and run the football like he did, which I thought was great. He ran for like 60 yards. He ran and put himself on the line. I like that. Now, that showed me some dog, and I was impressed with that. And as far as playing on Sunday, I don't know if he's going to play on Sunday. I do. He has been practicing. He's had a helmet. He's had a jersey. But the way Matt Rule spoke yesterday, I lean on the side of he's not going to play, just based off what I'm hearing. But that's okay. It's okay. I think I'll be confident enough in PJ to get it done. And again, we don't need our quarterbacks to be superstars. They just have to manage the game.
We're talking to Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Speaking of guys who may or may not play, rumor is Christian McCaffrey is back at practice. Now, he is cleared to return from the PUP list. It does not mean that he has to now. I believe the Panthers have 20 days to designate him to return to action. But the early rumors are that he was at practice yesterday and may return to full practice in the next day or two. Rashad, you got any update on CMC?
Yeah, I think he was at practice today as well, but he is, when it comes to individual drills, he's working on the sideline on the bike. So he's another one. I think if you listen to the context clues, I think they're not going to play him on Sunday. Again, I have no breaking news. This is just my assumption based off of what I'm hearing at the press conferences and kind of reading between the lines. I think there's a good chance that you won't see Christian McCaffrey or Sam Darnold play. If they do, great. I just caution and I hope that they don't throw him out there and give it to him 30 times a game like they have been. And listening to Joe Brady's press conferences, he has really no fear about doing just that, right? He doesn't care about if he's out there and available, they're going to use him. And so I feel like, we've got to be careful. We've got really 4 really good running backs in Chuba Hubbard, Amir Abdullah, Royce Freeman, and C-Mac whenever he comes back. Let's use them all. You saw it on Sunday, right? When we were able to spread the football around. I know Chuba got the bulk of the work, but they were able to sprinkle carries amongst the other guys and catch it amongst the other guys. So I think that needs to be done moving forward, even when Christian McCaffrey comes back fully healthy.
Talking to Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast here on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. They got the the Patriots coming to town this weekend. And the Patriots have looked like a decent little football team. In fact, they wiped out the Chargers this past weekend in a good football game. If Darnold is unable to go, what does that mean for this game this weekend?
Honestly, I would much rather have Sam Darnold out there than PJ Walker. I think PJ Walker is a bit erratic. We saw in the game last year against Detroit, he threw a couple of interceptions in the red zone. That's not going to cut it against Bill Belichick, Mac Jones and company, a well-coached team. And at the end of the day, that's what matters, right? That team is well-coached. They're going to be ready to play. You're going to get the best shot. That's a good team. Again, with Bill Belichick there, they're always going to be serviceable. They're always going to be a good team, and always going to be a tough matchup. I think that the Panthers can win. It's a home game. I think you have the blood and guts game for Stephon Gilmore, right? Former Patriot. He could be looking to get some revenge on the Patriots. So it's going to be interesting. I think, again, we didn't talk about Stephon Gilmore in the last game, but I think he brings a huge boost to this defense. We're missing J.C. Horn. Stephon Gilmore comes in, played 17 snaps or something like that, and was dominant and shut down Kyle Pitts. So I think that just having him along and having him in that blood and guts game, that revenge game against the Patriots, I think it's a good matchup. We're both 4-4. I think it's pretty even, good defenses, and whichever offense can get it going, I think will be the team that can win the game. And I'm fully confident the Panthers can do that with PJ Walker, a bit different quarterback, right? He can use his legs, he can extend plays, but often he is a bit erratic, and I kind of hold my breath anytime he's out the pocket running around, because you never know what PJ Walker's going to do. But go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. I was just going to ask on the defensive side of the football, looked better, looked more composed last week. I mean, we were talking at the beginning about the fact that the defense was going to be the heart and soul of this team, but they had 3 games where they were kind of getting diced up. It looked like they returned to form a little bit last weekend. They got Mac Jones, who's been a good little rookie for them this year. What's the defensive look like this weekend?
Yeah, no, I think the defense is going to be great. I think the defense is always going to be good. You got Hassan Reddick and Brian Burns. Those guys are lighting it up. I think they the best duo when it comes to pass rushers in the league. They lead a lot of statistics in that area. So I really think that defensive line, we talked about it way before the season started. They're the real deal. And even you got Derek Brown in the middle. He's disruptive. He had, I think, one of his best games on Sunday as well. And then you got the cornerbacks, right? You got C.J. Henderson. You got Stephon Gilmore. And Dante Jackson is no slouch. That Jeremy Chin, I mean, that defense is legit. And I think they're going to present some problems to Mac Jones. Again, he's a statue back there. But I think they may try to negate that by, getting rid of the football quick. Again, I think they're not a great team either. I think they put some wins together. They beat the Chargers. They beat the Jets. But they did lose to the Dallas, the Cowboys, and they lost to Tampa, and they lost to New Orleans. So this team is beatable. And again, I think it's going to be a good matchup. I think 2 equally matched teams.
That is the voice of Rashad Beard. All right, on the record, big dog. Final score. Give it to me.
Final score, man. These are so tough. I'm going to go 24-17 Panthers. Little bit of low scoring game, but I think the defense does enough, and I think the offense will score enough points. And I like Carolina in this game. That
is Rashad Beard. You can find his work on Twitter at Panther Nation PC, but you got to go find him on YouTube. Search Panther Nation Podcast. Give them a follow. They go live after games for reaction on Monday for full breakdowns. Before the game, They go on and talk fantasy football. It is tremendous stuff. And every week he talks Panther football with us. Rashad, my dude, great stuff as always, buddy. We'll talk to you next week.
Hey, appreciate that, brother.
You got it. That's Rashad Beard. When we come back, Mark Shelley is the voice of your Greenville Swamp Rabbits. The Raps have had a couple of games in the books already. They're on the road Sunday for one more before they make their return back to the ice of the well next weekend. We're going to start breaking down where the Rabbits sit right now early in the season with Mark Shelley, the voice of the Swamp Rabbits, next on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
Surgeon, you know the drill.
Tag him.
Tag him. Josh, welcome in, fella. Steven, I have, much to Lonzo's chagrin, as he has seen it, I have not seen Venom 2 yet. Or Shang-Chi. I promise I'm trying. I might, Sunday night? Who's the Sunday night football game this week? If it's not a good game, I may go see one or both this weekend. Titans, Rams, no Derrick Henry. Adrian Peterson's playing. Do I skip that? I think I do, right? Do I still go see Venom instead of that?
You don't have to skip it. Just DVR it. Watch it.
That's true.
The next day.
Maybe I think I'll see Venom this weekend. You've sold me on Venom. You've sold me on the Venom post game. The fact
At
that
this-
I'm
at this-
getting dramatically frustrated.
At
by the
this
fact that
point, you
can't
could
tell
just
me-
at this point you could just go look up the post credit scene.
No. Does it fit in the movie? No, I'm not going to. I'm absolutely going to see it in theater.
It does have something to do with the movie, so yeah.
So then, no, I can't.
You know, there will come a point, Rob, where you'll be so far behind.
No, there won't.
Because if Spider-Man comes out, are you going to skip going to see Spider-Man
absolutely
because you
not.
haven't seen
No,
Venom
no.
2 yet?
No.
Well, you.
I think the only thing that kept me from immediately going seeing Venom, although this doesn't work with Shang-Chi, is because I've been working on the assumption that Venom takes place outside of the big MCU. I was like, I can get to it when I get to it. But now it seems like they're starting to flutter together like butterflies in a spring meadow.
There's a spell coming, and there's also been, branch timelines that have been made by a certain series. So, I mean, you don't know where things fall. You don't.
Exactly.
So your headlights are getting dim? With the seasons changing, now's a great time to change it. Upgrading your headlights can ensure you'll be safe and ready to handle darkness and fog. Oh, we recommend replacing in pairs. That way you won't have uneven lighting over time. You can get all of your lighting needs back. Next day delivery and free same-day
Excuse me, stream. I apologize.
Restrictions and details at AutoZone.com. It's not just Santa who's coming to town, it's also your in-laws and their cousins. It's time for some gifts from the Home Depot. From doorbell cameras to intelligent thermostats, you'll look smart and save big on the latest smart home gifts. Does your father...
I'm sure you already knew this, but your guest is waiting on.
Yeah, I assumed.
His last name is it S-H-E-L-L-E-Y?
Yes. It's always a good day when somebody makes their Rob Brown Show debut, and it's time for that to happen right now. To the phone lines we go to welcome in the seductive voice of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits. He has taken the title of newest resident of the upstate away from yours truly, and we are damn glad to have him. Mark Shelley is the voice of the Rabbits and joins us now on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Mark, what's up, big dog?
What's up, Rob? And I don't know, with an intro like that, I feel like I got to follow up with the seductive voice. I feel like I got to drop it down an octave and make it even silkier.
Put a little bass in it, big dog. We can handle it. We can handle it. Mark Shelley, voice of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, joins us here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Before we get into hockey, big dog, how you feeling about the Upstate, buddy? You've been here, you've been working, you've been traveling around the state doing play-by-play. How you feeling about it?
Oh, I love it. It's the best decision I made to come here. I mean, this is a great town. When I was coming here, the guy I took over for, Matt Truss, when he was heading back to our home state of Pennsylvania, called me and he starts telling me about down here in Greenville and how great it is. And honestly, I told him after 30 seconds of the call, I said, Trusty, you got to stop. I said, you sold it to me already. You don't have to sell it anymore. And I got down here and listen, maybe you needed to sell it, didn't need to sell it as much because he advertised it one way, and I'll tell you what, far exceeded that. He left a lot out of that advertisement for coming down here. Absolutely love it. My wife and I are having a blast down here, and I don't know. She's on the never wants to leave train right now. So can't beat that.
I had the same thing happen when I got here. Mark Ryan, the guy who does the show after us, of course, a buddy of mine from way back in the day, we used to host the show together. And when I applied for this job and started working through it, he said, Rob, if you get this job and you move here, you will want to end your career here because it is an incredible place. And I'm glad it's not just me that feels that way. Mark Shelley, voice of the Swamp Rabbits, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Mark, let's get into hockey just a little bit. So you got here with a couple of months left to go before the season started. We're now a couple weeks in. Just your overview on this team so far. I know you've been to different places calling games before, but the way that Lordo's running this team, the way that Spire is running this team, our buddy Timmy V calling the shots in the office. Just give me, from somebody who is now inside the team but was just brand new to the area, what's your overview on the Swamp Rabbits as an organization?
Yeah, from an organizational standpoint, I mean, what Spire Sports and Entertainment, Spire Hockey have been able to do, taking over the reins here, obviously welcoming me with open arms here to the organization, but just as an overall whole, the direction that we're taking this organization, trying to elevate it into one of those premier, not just teams, because when you think about team, you're looking at the on-ice performance, but we're talking about beyond that. We're trying to make this one of those opportunities that when you come to Greenville, one of the first things you hear about from people is, hey, have you been to a Swamp Rabbits game? And that's truly the vision that Spire has, and that I think we all have, and the crew that we've assembled in the upstairs and downstairs, even the players on the ice, they're buying into this of, they know it's bigger than just being a professional hockey player and, getting paid to come out night in and night out to play the game of hockey. They know it's about more than that. It's about being a part of the community. And that's something that's truly rewarding to be able to be a part of and to see grow. And that's what we want, so being able to see it firsthand and be a part of that, I think there are great things to come, obviously, from an organizational standpoint.
Mark Shelley, voice of the Swamp Rabbits, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Of course, last year, Shelley, the Swamp Rabbits end their season in the ECHL championship, but came up a game short. And, a lot of us are chalking part of that up to the fact that because of some scheduling issues and things outside of the team's control, they ended up effectively having to play their home games on the road at Carolina. So they were really the home team throughout the entire series almost. This year, unfortunately, just a little bit of a slow start, but you're talking about a couple of losses to the Stingrays, who have a huge advantage in the fact that Andrew Bednard, who was the starting keeper for the Swamp Rabbits last year, is now in the net for them. So he's very comfortable and familiar with the guys he's going up against, etc. Despite having one win so far, we have seen this team get hot later as the season goes on. What's your analysis of what the Rabbits have been through so far and where they're going moving forward?
I think it's something that I want to go back on to what Lordo said leading into the season. And, we've talked about it a couple of times in our pregame coverage during our interviews, is this is a young team. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. It's a very young team, a lot of inexperience on there at the professional level, but that doesn't mean, these guys aren't prepared to play at the ECHL level. We got a lot of great guys coming out of the WHL, a lot of great guys coming out of the NCAA, but it's going to take some time to build that camaraderie and learn how this style of hockey is played once you get to that pro level. I mean, this is, for a large portion of this team, this is their very first opportunity to play professional hockey, and to be able to go out and play the way they've been playing, albeit the results maybe not coming their way, to see them play this way and jump right into it and really be thrown into the fire and say, hey, learn as you go. That's something that you have to take pride in as this team. And, so it has been a little slow start for them, just trying to get that winning momentum their way. And obviously when you play your in-state rival 3 times in a row, that can wear on you, and bounces don't go your way. And, in that road opener for the season opener, they ran into Hunter Shepard, who, get this, Rob, just a couple of minutes ago, I got the email in my inbox, Hunter Shepard being sent down from the Hershey Bears back to South Carolina. So he's come back after his call up in that short stint in the AHL. So they run into him and shoot 42 times. You have to love that. Anytime you get an offensive productivity of shooting 42 times, you love things like that. But it's the inexperience and trying to learn and get into that rhythm of being able to convert on those chances. That will take some time. And so they've had great looking games, and they've had some lackluster looking games. I think, that's not even the sugarcoating version. I think Coach Lord would be the first to tell you that, that's the same mindset that they look at these games of. Some have been great, some not so great, but it'll take time. But ultimately there's a lot of promise here. And I think the coaching staff, and really as an organization as a whole, there's a lot of promise and a lot of belief that this team can turn into something special as they go along.
Mark Shelley, the voice of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate, as we talk Swamp Rabbits hockey. Mark, I've noticed in the years that I've done this job and covered local professional sports, one of the biggest problems that you can have is being really good, right? Making a championship run, either bringing home the trophy or being in the finals of whatever league you're playing in, because you get on the radar of the teams next up in the pecking order, and the players that bring you to those championship levels get on the radar of the teams that are above you. And sometimes you get, for lack of better terminology, just kind of picked apart, and you basically have to reset the roster. There is, and I noticed this a couple of weeks ago at the team intro party, a lot of new names on this roster from last year, because a lot of the old names got picked up or moved to a higher level of hockey, et cetera, et cetera. How much of a problem was that this year for the early part of the year for the Swamp Rabbits? And as a hockey team at the level of the Rabbits in the ECHL, how do you combat that?
Yeah, I think that obviously every year there's going to be that movement. And, just speaking on South Carolina from that game last night, you look at their roster and there's two former Swamp Rabbits on there, Jake Maffey and Ryan Bednard. And Bednard getting the start last night. He's played 2 straight games against the Swamp Rabbits. So things like that, especially when they are rivals, when they're in the South Division and you see those guys, certainly, that takes a mental toll. It also takes the fact of how do we replace those guys? Who's going to be the next man up? And you start working all off season. And a lot of those, you can kind of feel them coming. If you have a great performance the season before, Bednard getting 20 wins in the regular season last year, he's going to get looks and ultimately does. He gets signed to the AHL deal with Hershey. So that's one of those holes that you start to look at and say, all right, we have an entire offseason to try to fill this. Where are we going to get this? Then Swamp Rabbits have a very fortunate situation. It's 3 contracted goalies at levels above. John Lefferman with the Ontario Reign in the AHL. Evan Fitzpatrick is with Charlotte. And then obviously Jacob Ingham being a Kings prospect and assigned down here. So holes like that you can fill, and it certainly causes to go back to the drawing board. You start taking away the magnets and you say, where are the holes we need to fill in? Who's going to be returning? And it ultimately leads to the scouting and just the work that's put in. And I think that's been reflected in the promotion of Andrew Lord from not just director of hockey operations anymore and the head coach. Now he's the head coach and general manager. He takes on that role of building this organization, starting from the floor level down on the ice. That's where it all starts. That at the end of the night, if we don't have a game going on and we don't have a team that's competitive, it's not going to draw people in. And then that makes our jobs upstairs easier. So to see that work go in and knowing what he has to do, the scouting, the late nights, making these phone calls, getting these guys in here to fill those holes. And then ultimately, when it comes down to it, let's not sugarcoat it. It's professional sports. There's going to be guys that are here and, somebody might get attached and say, this is my favorite player. And guess what? The next day, he's on a plane to whichever city and somebody else is coming in replacing him, because that's the nature of the business and you're always trying to get better. And so it's constant movement, constant scouting, and just constantly getting better. And I think they were really sort of put in the hole with some of those transactions that occurred, but ultimately I think they filled them with the guys that they know are going to be successful. But it's not an overnight fix, right? You got to let these guys settle in, especially as you mentioned with young faces. You got to let them settle in, got to let them develop. And once they do, this team will be rolling.
Mark Shelley, voice of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Talk to us a little bit about Lordo, both professionally and having gotten to know him since you moved here personally, because, I've told a lot of people in the Upstate when Lordo got announced as the head coach a while back, my Twitter feed became inundated with folks from over in Cardiff, Wales, where he was coaching before he got to Greenville, inundated with folks from Cardiff that were going, man, you guys stole him from us. He's a great guy. He's a great coach. He's a great GM, fantastic dude, etc. And since I've gotten to know Lordo on and off the ice, both as a head coach, now as a general manager, and as a dude, I have told folks in Greenville, you are very lucky. This guy's got a future in the big leagues if he ever decides to take a step up. Greenville is very lucky to have him here. What's been your experience with Lordo since you've gotten to the area?
Yeah, I think what you said is spot on. He's a phenomenal coach, an expert with the X's and O's, and just schematically and strategically in the way he builds his team and the way he desires his players to play is really unparalleled by most. But where it
falls short is just him being a dude. I mean, it pales in comparison of how he is as a person. I mean, your job is only one aspect of your life, and he excels at that. So that tells you how great of a person Lordo truly is. Just meeting him and being able to work with him on a daily basis, and whether it be emails or texting him, calling him, running down to his office, he always makes the time. Even if there's not time at that moment, it's, hey, I'm going to reschedule because I need to make time because that's what we need to do, and I'm going to talk to you. And that's on the work side, but just as a person, just a fun-loving guy you love to be around. He has an infectious attitude and really a motivating force in this organization and to anyone that knows him. Just an all-around great guy and a head coach.
Mark Shelley, voice of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, joining us here on the show. All right, Shelley, we got one more on the road before the boys return to a homestand in the Well next weekend. They're on the road at the Atlanta Gladiators, a team that the Swamp Rabbits have not lined it up against yet. Give me a little preview of what you expect out of the Rabs on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, well, I think, especially coming off of this 4-game set that they've had in this mini series with South Carolina, going 1-2 against their rivals, you certainly go back to the drawing board, right? You have a game plan and you look at the games. You have a perfect mix of 2 games where you performed very well, 2 games where you didn't perform well. And so that allows you to really pick apart and see what is working, what needs to change. And I think last night there were a lot of lessons to be learned from that game in Charleston. And I think that's what the major, the major film session is going to be about, breaking that down and saying what needs to change before we meet up with the Gladiators, because now you're out of those first 4 games and you get about 5 games, right? To really say, all right, we're still learning how to play together as a team with all the new faces. Once you're past the first 4 or 5, you are into the season. You need to start performing. You need to start playing as a team. And there's really no more of, oh, he's a rookie. Yeah, you might still be a rookie on the standards, but now you're part of the team. Now you're playing. You've gotten your feet wet. You need to get in there. So I expect that, the goaltending has been exceptional for the Swamp Rabbits. All 3 goaltenders have gotten in. The results haven't come their way. So, their stat lines look a little lopsided, but in terms of the play, the back end has been phenomenal for this Greenville side. But offensively, I think that's where the change needs to happen. They need to find a way to produce points, bail out their goaltenders on the other end. When you lose 2-1, that's still a great night for your goaltender, giving up just 2 goals against the Jacksonville side. But you got to find a way to produce the points on the other end. And I think that, they look at the film and they say, where have we fallen short in that regard? And I think they'll come out firing against Atlanta on Sunday.
That is Mark Shelley. He is the voice of your Greenville Swamp Rabbits. They are on the road this Sunday at Atlanta. They'll be back in the Well next Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. We are looking forward to get back in there and doing that hockey. Mark Shelley, good to have you on the show for the first time, buddy. I know for a fact it will not be the last, and we will hear you on the call on Sunday, my guy.
Always a pleasure, Rob. Always a pleasure talking with you and talking to the great people of the upstate.
Always. That is Mark Shelley, voice of your Greenville Swamp Rabbits. You can follow him on Twitter at Mark Shelley PXP, MarkShelley PXP. He tweets Swamp Rabbits hockey all year long. He's the best. We're back after this for some playoff ranking reaction on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. What's up, guy? How you doing, partner? Yeah, buddy.
I am awesome because, I'm in the same room with Rob Brown, and it's excitement.
Mark was giving you some heck for complaining about the cold already, Rob.
You can give me all the heck you want. It sucks, and I hate it.
And Mark's exactly right, because, Mark's from Iowa. I'm from Ohio. We know what cold is. Rob is from Florida.
Yeah, you know why? Because it's not cold there.
You're right. No, you're absolutely right. It's all comparative. This is like a sauna to me.
Especially for the beginning of November.
Yep. I really enjoy talking to the family back in Ohio while they're dealing with a ton of snow, and I'm just like, yeah, it's a little bit of rain here. Are you sitting outside? Well, yes, I am.
I got home yesterday. It's 52 degrees, overcast, cloudy. I get home, and so my apartment is a 3-story complex, but from the front, you walk in on the 2nd story, and then I live on the 1st, so you go downstairs or upstairs. And up on the balcony to the right, facing out towards the pool, there's like 3 girls, and they're out there in like long sleeve shirts and yoga pants, and they're working. And I'm like, what is wrong with you people? Go inside. It is cold.
I would have said, what's wrong with you people? Why you got long sleeves on?
No.
It's going to be as cold of a winter here as they say. You might actually have to buy a big coat.
I own multiple big coats.
Okay.
For that reason.
Well, according to Farmer's Almanac, and you know they're fairly accurate. It's supposed to be a colder winter, so.
What should I know about the? I think his name was Tim, the newer producer for WROD. Should I know anything about him?
He is Mondo cool to the point where he's big time bro. So, no, Tim's cool, dude. There's nothing you really need to know.
Now, I meant to ask you this.
Yeah, I mean, you can ask him questions, but keep in mind that he's fairly new. He's doing a great job, though, so he probably should be able to answer anything.
I think it would be good to have that perspective of somebody a little bit newer too.
As opposed to someone old like me. A seasoned veteran. No, I get it. Someone who's just started out.
Right. And I was going to ask this yesterday, but I noticed the phone lines, the phone channels, they don't come through the speakers. Is that because those are your mono channels? Is that why?
No, they don't. They don't come through the speakers because engineering has it wired that way. There's no other reason. They explained to me that in music stations, because this used to be a music station and we swapped with the music station, that it's the norm. But I've been in the other music stations and it's not. So there is no good explanation as to why. Just consider it an anomaly, and in other studios it doesn't do that. So for the most part, all the studios are the same, but they each have their little quirks and some things that are just slightly different. And that's the one I personally think, since everything's about me, that they're leaving it that way on purpose because it bothers me. I also know their sense of humor, and it's very possible that they're leaving it that way because it bothers me. I also kind of respect that, but it still sucks. That was a really long drink of water. Are you parched?
I am quite parched.
No, Steven, it's not really the closet studio. The studio we were in before is much more, it's smaller. This one's actually fairly roomy. Yeah. There's not as much stuff in here. We're still accumulating like memorabilia and stuff, but we got room for a pool table right over there. We absolutely do. I mean, a miniature pool table, at least a foosball table. We can get a foosball table over there for sure, with some full-on action, because you know I'm guessing Rob's one of those guys for foosball.
Listen, if you can't be good at something, be strong at it.
I think I tore my rotator cuff. I can't bowl tonight.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Yeah, no, you. You. Yes, you. Are you busy tonight? I just realized how creepy it was to say it that way.
Yeah.
Because,
hey, baby, what's you doing tonight?
if you have nothing better to do this evening, Lonzo and I would love you to join us.
All right, hold on. You're not going sexy voice here. You're going NPR, and that's a totally different kind of creepy.
No.
That is definitely NPR right there.
No, it's absolutely not. Listen, this is NPR. Hello and welcome to the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. My name is Rob Brown. Lonzo, of course, at the producer's chair this afternoon. So glad to have you along for the ride. That's NPR voice. Sexy voices. Hey, what you doing tonight? You got anything going on? Do you want to play with me and Lonzo?
All right, text line 71307 is not the same voice. It is the same voice. You're just using less eloquent words. It's the same voice.
If it turns out if you ever walk up to a young lady at the bar and you go, well, good evening. It's a pleasure to speak with you. She's not going to speak with you.
Are you? If you're,
be smooth.
unless you're, in which case it's perfectly acceptable.
Hello, I am Mark Zuckerberg. All right, Lonzo and I are going to be at Spare Time Entertainment this evening for the final edition of the Stoneman's Bad Bowlers Club. We're going to be hanging out this evening. Starts at 7. Your boy's going to be there closer to 6 to get a few practice rounds in because I swear if I lose 2 games to Diesel tonight, I will lose my mind. I can't do it again.
Do we resort to heckling and things that we said we would do doing this, but we never do because we, despite
like we'll have fun and joke between lanes, but outside of that, we've really. But the answer is no, and because I'm not an idiot, Lonzo, the answer is no because if like Diesel and I are in a close game, and I can't let him win 2, and I blow an air horn at him while he's about to throw a ball, then he comes in here on Friday, and he says, "Yeah, I didn't beat Rob." But he had to resort to blowing air horns in my ear to beat me. Otherwise, I'd have smoked him. And we both know who the listener's side is, or what side the listeners are going to take there. We both know.
They're going to be on your side, for sure.
Absolutely.
No. Come on.
So, no, I'm going early. I'm getting the old practice time in. I'm going to find the lane. We're going to figure this thing out. I ran the first like 5 weeks, and then Diesel has just beat both of us routinely since then, and I can't accept it.
Routinely would imply every single game, and that's not true.
It's true.
He's won.
The last 2.
Well,
it's absolutely going to be a
these alien. These middle ones, if for some reason the
we're gonna find out tonight. Spare Time Entertainment, 7:00. Come on by. We'd love to see you. Lonzo and I are gonna be there. Diesel's gonna be there. Stoneman from Classic Rock 1011 will be there, and who knows what other assorted cast of celebrities or those that call themselves that will show up this evening.
Don't bring an air horn. I don't think they'll allow.
I'm not bringing an air horn. However,
I was talking about people who should come.
Oh yeah, no, don't bring an air horn. However, I'm not saying that there won't be.
That's going pretty well over the. Are you sure?
Actual phone that I heard.
Sure, it was. It was a ghost phone.
Texas says ESPN plot twist. Rob's sexy voice is his NPR voice. He's into older white ladies. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Rob Brown. Welcome to the Rob Brown Show. Another texter says Rob sounds like he should be driving a creeper white van and offering free candy.
He's got to be wearing a white beater also, just slightly stained, at least around the neck area where he sweat just a little too much.
Oh my God. Oh my goodness. You know what? Taking us to break because I'll be dadgum. We have a special guest celebrity appearance here. Can you come back? A celebrity sighting in the office. We have been joined by someone I never thought we'd see in person. And yet it's been 4 years. We're back after this with a celebrity guest appearance on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
My world. My world. Shh.
The 2021 version of Mad World is still open. Halloween has come and gone, ladies and gentlemen, but the spirit of Halloween lives forever at Mad World of 2021. It is bigger, it is badder, more scenes, more actors, more effects than ever before. And these folks are trained to know how to put the fear of Halloween into you. So if you missed it pre-Halloween, worry not, my friends. Go to madworldattractions.com, madworldattractions.com. Grab your ticket, reserve your time, and go get the pants scared off of you. Metaphorically speaking, of course, with our friends at the 2021 version of Mad World. I'm good, buddy. How are you, man? Good to see you in person instead of just random tweets.
Yeah, don't come around here and touch me because that's just not happening.
Oh God, Mark, expect better. There he goes. You just got to call him out. Get a little inspiration dice.
How's it going, man?
Good, dude. Good. It's been.
How's it going? Owen sends me a message the other day. He's like, just curious if you guys have any opportunities everywhere.
Yeah.
And then like 2 days later.
What curious timing, huh?
Yeah.
Worked out well. Worked out well.
I know your head's probably swimming.
Honestly, not as much as I
Not
thought.
as much as you thought.
But Mark Hendricks did call me like 15 minutes after I emailed him. So talking to you and then talking to
You know
him,
what?
it's
You know what? Because I got off the phone with him.
Which I appreciate.
I called him and I said, you need to call this kid. You know?
Seems to be going well so far. I'm gonna sit in on I'm assuming half of WROD after Rob's done here at 3.
Good. Good deal.
We'll see where we go from there.
Who's winning the bowling? The Bad Bowling Club. Is Lonzo the best of the 3? Or is Diesel the best of the 3?
All right, so high game is still me.
He's got the high game.
Yeah, but Diesel almost got me last week. High game's 167. Diesel got 165 last week. Unfortunately, I just might as well say it. The last 3 or 4 weeks, Diesel has won 2 out of 3 games, but Rob hasn't been there. So
Also true.
and I've
My strategy if I wasn't going to win.
Not show up.
yeah. Well,
If you weren't there, you didn't lose.
That's correct.
I even called him out on the air, and he still didn't. Yeah, just but last week there was much distraction by children who kept coming over into my lane, and the way I bowl, and I am being honest, I'm not bragging. I throw the ball really hard.
The ball
I could not.
Enzo and money.
Yeah, that's just
Yeah.
it's like I bowl like 17 miles per hour or something like that. So I just it's just how I bowl. I like the sound and the explosion of the pins. I did one last week where a pin came from the back and hit the front 2 on top of it. I know. See, I told. You should come out and hang out.
You hear this back and forth banter?
No.
Maybe y'all for a couple hours, am I
This
out?
goes back 2 years, though.
Yeah. Well, there's that.
Hey,
You should
but
come
look,
hang out.
I'm-
I mean,
I'm,
it's. I mean, you don't have to bowl, but you
rapidly
can bowl. It's only
approaching
like
the
it's like
two-year mark.
$10 for 3 games.
Already.
Yeah.
It's like unbelievable.
We usually have
Just got
free
here.
stuff, including free
just
T-shirts,
got
and they give away gift cards and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Was this 21?
Yeah. 20.
This, and this are all.
Yeah.
They can all be commercials,
Yeah,
but
I
right
got
now,
here.
this is the main channel for commercials. This I play beds out of.
Genuinely don't now. Right.
3 I use for intros and things that are separate from something that I would play in the
You
stack,
are correct. You are correct.
or like
You're
for
correct.
breaking
They let
news.
in like 10,000, like 5,000 fans or something. I do. No, yeah, that's exactly right. Oh, that's right, because we made fun of their stadium for looking like the world's most giant barbecue grill.
Wait, what stadium?
The Ranger Stadium, their new stadium, looks like a barbecue grill.
This is like a smoker or like a you know.
By the way, did you guys hear that Vander has the naming rights for their stadium? He's open. The Huggy Stadium is World Series.
He needs no introduction. So
Yeah,
I won't. I don't mean to alarm you, but in studio for
Alarm,
the first time
alarm.
in 13 years, Mark Ryan's in the building.
Hey, it is wonderful to see you guys with the bowling shirts. Is that the volume you normally speak? Lonzo, have you sustained hearing damage working with this guy on a daily basis?
These are
to cancel out the volume that this guy's putting up. Great to see you guys, man. We are out 903 Anderson Road in Powdersville today.
Powdersville. I don't think I've made it to Powdersville yet.
It is the baddest Ingles store you've ever
Really?
seen, man. It is incredible, and we're going to have a ton of fun. Got the Upset Picks of the Week contest.
Who's winning?
You ready for this?
I am.
I'm going to break it right here, okay?
Okay.
Michigan J. Todd last week.
Great texter, by the way.
Yeah,
VIP
unbelievable.
texter.
He hit something no one else picked. He hit Washington State plus 16 against Arizona
Nice
State.
pick.
He came in late
Nice
with that.
pick.
That vaults him to 40 points on the season. I
Okay.
think number 2 is 28.
Okay.
So you'd need a 12-point upset this
Yep.
week and him not to hit his for you to be in the lead.
Very nice.
You know what I'm saying?
Well done,
So
Todd.
he's doing well.
Well
Doing
done.
Very, very well.
That's a big hit.
so he did all that and he never said what he was going
Yeah,
to.
where you at?
Yeah, where's the pick?
Oh, what's my
Oh, I
pick?
thought you were giving it.
In the building, and I'm not going to spoiler alert anything you haven't already said, but you're going big stick on us this weekend.
Man, thank you so much. CBS Sports Radio, over 300 stations nationwide. This Saturday, 2 to 6 p.m. I was just here recording an interview with my old pal Booger. He was full of piss and vinegar as always.
Does
Lonzo,
he
you remember that.
miss the sideline cart? Does he miss the sideline cart? Be honest.
Hated the cart.
Did he really?
He hated
I
the
thought it would have
cart.
been his idea.
You know why? Because everyone was screaming at him because he's blocking their view.
Uh-huh.
The people who paid the most
Yeah.
for their seats, they
Are getting
couldn't
blocked by
see
Booger.
because of Booger. Anyway, it was absolutely brutal. Thank you guys so much. Sounding great. We'll see you out at Ingles in
Angles in
Powdersville.
Powdersville. Love to see it.
All right.
Welcome to the building, buddy.
Yeah.
This is like
Incredible.
may or may not be intentional, however. Mark Ryan, offsides with Mark Ryan coming up at 3. Ingles in Powdersville today. Thanks for stopping by, big dog.
Great seeing you guys. Rock it out the final hour.
Hour 3 is next on the Rob Brown Show, ESPN Upstate.
All right, guys. Thank you. Good to see you, buddy.
Be safe headed up there, buddy. Catch up with you. I have been teasing the playoff reactions for roughly an hour and 15 minutes now. We
When I
have
was
to get to
listening
them.
To the show on the way over here, you were still.
And just still haven't gotten to it.
A busy NASCAR weekend. The Xfinity Series will open up the weekend Friday night at Phoenix.
See, here's the thing with a tease. A tease is never saying, you keep giving them a little bit more, and never give them what they want.
What they want?
Yeah, I mean, and if you do, you wait. I love the tease. The
Lonzo's
tease
the
is
only
awesome.
guy with the catchphrase of "Do not give the people what they want. Give them what you think they need."
No. It's what you know they need. I am an award-winning producer.
That is correct.
I am the voice of the people. And as the voice of the people, let me just say, it's not often that you hear shock without there actually being audible noise. But there was just shock without audible noise. See, Mark came in, expertly plugged his show, plugged his appearance on CBS Sports, also said that he was going to give his upset pick, and then talked about a listener. That, by the way, is an expertise.
So once this commercial commercials over that song, you just like it. That's what you'll fade in.
All right, so I put the open in at the end, so the open will just automatically play.
Right.
It's a shame you don't have headphones because you could hear it as we. I mean, because once the mics come on, then it dampens.
That's why I was listening to it on the way here to kind of get a better feel.
Remind me when we go to our first break. I have an extra set, and there's also a jack right here. I will get you a. I think you've been here twice, so I think you're clean enough to use my spare headphones.
And away we go. The third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show goes now on ESPN Upstate.
Hey, Rob.
Yes.
Was Mark?
I can confirm that you did not. I can confirm that we had an in the flesh Mark Ryan sighting today. In the flesh.
We'll be at bowling tonight at some point. I don't know, about 8:45 or something. We'll be winding down, and I will also say, "Hey, Rob, was Mark Ryan actually in studio today?"
I can confirm. I can confirm that is a thing that happened. The door opened, and I turned around and I thought to myself, "Who is this gray-haired guy who has just insulted me by entering my studio unannounced during a segment? Oh, that's Mark Ryan. I'll be darned. How about that?"
You know, I'm not trying to give him more publicity, more credit, more anything, but I guess that's the way to do it when you haven't been in the building for a while, and then you just come in unannounced. You know, kind of like Kramer showing up at your apartment or something. I don't know. It was just weird. I apologize. I'm still sitting over here wondering if that actually happened. I just needed confirmation.
Yes, it was not a hallucination. You have not accidentally stumbled into LSD or something similar. Mark Ryan was actually in the building and actually in the studio.
And contrary to popular belief, we didn't hurt each other. I did tell him to not touch me, but he's kind of
hugged.
No, he didn't. He's
the most manly, passionate hug
he's a touchy-feely kind of
you
guy.
have ever seen.
Yeah.
We basically the entire segment, the entire break we were away, Lonzo and Mark just, bear hugs.
Listen, I made in here observing and as saying scooted in so that Mark couldn't get around there.
He was using Owen as a lead blocker.
Yes,
All right, let's get some playoff talk reactions in here. Hot takes on the playoff rankings that came out. Yesterday we were just a wee bit busy, just a touch busy, because the Atlanta Braves won the World Series. In case you haven't heard, don't worry, I'm here to keep you updated. The College Football Playoff Committee put out its rankings. They tell you about how they're going to look at the numbers and look at the stats and look at and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. Once again, it's not great. I don't love it. I don't love the rankings. So our college football playoff rankings are out. They are official. The University of Georgia, the Peach State, checks in at number 1. Number 2, Alabama, the Crimson Tide. Number 3, Sparty and the Spartans at Michigan State. And the Oregon Ducks round out the top 4. Of course, they are one spot ahead of the team that they defeated on the road earlier in the year, Lonzo's OH.
I-O, baby.
Ohio State Buckeyes at number 5, Cincinnati. The undefeated Group of 5 team sits at number 6, 2 spots out. Michigan is at number 7, Oklahoma 8, 9, Wake Forest 10, Notre Dame. The Cowboys of Oklahoma State at number 11, the Baylor Bears at number 12. Auburn is at 13, 1 spot ahead of Texas A&M. BYU rounds up the top 15, while Ole Miss holds the 16 spot. Mississippi State, Kentucky, and NC State are 17 through 19, 20 Minnesota, 21 Wisconsin. The Iowa Hawkeyes have fallen to 22, Fresno State 23, San Diego State, the Aztecs, number 24, and the Pitt Panthers round out your top 25. What do we know about this? What do we know about where they stand right this second? Let's take a look at some, I don't know, are they hits and misses? Did the playoff committee get it correct? We briefly talked about it yesterday. Let's bring it up today in the Money Hour of the show. And we start, of course, with Alabama. 2 top 25 wins. They got one over Mississippi State. They got one over Ole Miss. Not terrible wins, but they did lose to number 14 Texas A&M. And there's a couple of other question marks behind them right now. For instance, barely escaped the bite of a very mediocre Florida team. They went up into the fourth quarter against Tennessee, up only 1 score. Now, they did run away against Tennessee very late in the game, but it was closer than you would have liked for longer than you would have liked. I got to tell you, Lonzo, I basically never want to hear the playoff selection committee at this point ever again say, we don't worry about branding. We don't worry about past success. We don't worry about names. We don't worry about legacy. All we care about is who's doing what on the field, because there's a handful of undefeated teams behind Alabama. There is a Michigan State team that has a top 7 win against Michigan and no other really close games behind them. I gotta think that Alabama's at not just in the playoff 4, but at number 2 because they're Alabama, and that's the number 1 reason.
All right, so I look at the playoff committee as a bunch of politicians. I've always seen it that way. They tell you a bunch of things, but the whole the entire time. So the fact that they're saying, "Oh, we don't look at this, we don't look," yeah, you do. You absolutely do, and you always have. And I've just never taken them as being entirely truthful when they say that. So I am not surprised.
I don't know, man. Like, part of the reason that so many of us want the playoffs to be expanded, and I am personally in favor of a 12-team playoff, but as I've said many times in the past, we can talk about it all we want, but the comparison that I've used in years gone by is that's like me and Lonzo explaining why we would take a red Ferrari over a black one. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter because we can't have a Ferrari, so it doesn't matter.
Depends on where you live, because dust and how much shows up on certain colors.
Which is the car equivalent of, well, this team beat that team and that beat that. Yeah, it's all well and good, but it doesn't matter. You're giving me all the reasons white Ferraris don't work in the woods if you're Lonzo. But at the end of the day, he doesn't have nor will he get a Ferrari.
Sure about that?
No, but I need to make a point, damn it.
No,
so let
I
me
got
have
you.
it.
I got you. Here's the thing about where were they ranked at the beginning of the season?
Very, very much at the top.
Yes, and they've lost 1 game.
Mm-hmm.
And have they looked like Alabama of old? Sometimes. Have they looked like an Alabama who's lost a game here or there every year? How many times has Alabama went undefeated? There are years where they lose a game and they're right there in it and win the whole thing. So I think you play history into it.
But
you absolutely have to.
Which is fine. But say that. Say that. Say, hey, we consider wins and losses as the number 1 thing we take into consideration. We consider strength of schedule to be the number 2 thing we take into consideration. But the other thing that we take into consideration is how teams have performed in the past when in similar situations. That's fine. But put it on the table that's a criteria. So that way when you put out the rankings and Alabama's number 2 and Michigan State's 3 undefeated and Oklahoma's number 8 because reasons.
You can't do that, because if you do that, then the people who have cried about
say that now because it's true and we can see it. I agree with you on the politicians thing. You know why? Because we, as Americans, can look when the politicians lie and go, right, but you said this, but then you did this, and that's a lie. And we can call them out on it. But the difference is in politics, we at least have a voice in it. We can at least go, that guy lied. I don't know. I'm not going to vote for him again. I'm not in. I'm not doing that. I can't call Greg Sankey and go, Greg, no, we're not cool with this, man. This ain't cool, dog, because it's not. I don't have any repercussion or any recourse here to air my grievances a la Seinfeld.
If Alabama were to win the entire thing this year, would you be surprised?
Surprise, no. Am I putting a flyer on them like I have in years past? Also, no. Right? But I wouldn't be surprised if Georgia won it. Frankly, I don't know that I'd be surprised if Oklahoma won it, and they're number 8. Right? And by the way, an undefeated number 8. Undefeated number 8 out of the Big 12.
An undefeated number 8 who looks at all the teams ahead of them and realizes, for the most part, a lot of these teams are going to play each other, and they can slowly just raise right up there and squeak into 4.
I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to have you yell loudly. Our buddy Owen Watterson, who you've heard on the show in the years past.
I just want to point out that you're going to have him yell.
Yeah,
loud. Okay, because
if
if I yell loudly, I'm done for a while.
No. I'm going to have Owen yell loudly from the other side of the room. I just need a number from you, Owen. If Clemson this year was undefeated and has played Wake Forest schedule right now, where are they ranked in the playoff committee right now? 3. Thank you. I'll be over here resting in the nest of great point that I just made, because I did. The point is, stop telling us things that aren't true, playoff committee. If you're going to rank teams higher because of who they are and seasons gone by, then just have the stones to say it. It's not like we can do anything about it.
But you know how you fix it? Expansion.
Listen to Diesel. Diesel made a great point on the show yesterday. Diesel said, and this point I've said as well, there was all this talk preseason that we were rapidly progressing towards expansion. And then Mark Ryan and I are on the air in Charlotte, North Carolina at the ACC kickoff when it's announced that Oklahoma and Texas are screwing the Big 12 to move into the ACC, right? That is a death blow to the Big 12. And then all of a sudden it was, pump the brakes on the old expansion talk. Maybe let's talk a little bit. And part of it is because of the fact that if you're Greg Sankey in the SEC now, you're going to go, we just want the top 12 teams. We don't care who they are. We want them in, because that means you can get 4 or 5 SEC teams in a given year. And the rest of the conferences are going, whoa. Conference champs from the Power 5, best group of 5 team, best independent, and then the rest at larges, so that we can have a mix and mix it up. So the SEC doesn't prop itself up in its best years and put 6 teams in, and the ACC might have a really good team, but because the rest of the ACC sucks, they get the shaft, right? Like, we don't want to deal with any of that. But now we're all over the map, while the rest of us are sitting here going, guys, you're screwing it up as it is, right? Like, you're like, let's not expand to 12 because there's going to be problems. Oklahoma is number 8 undefeated. And I got a Clemson dude sitting here telling me that if Clemson was undefeated in the exact same schedule that Wake Forest has played right now, they'd be number 3 in the poll. Ahead of Alabama or right behind them?
No, I disagree with him. If Clemson were undefeated right now, they'd be number 2 or number 1.
You might be right.
Because of where they were ranked at the beginning of the year. Yeah, because Georgia would have had to jump them. And if they were undefeated, they wouldn't drop. At least I wouldn't think they would.
So you'd have Georgia 1, Clemson 2?
Yes.
Alabama 3?
If Clemson were undefeated, yes. But I also wouldn't have Alabama 2 because they've had a loss.
Sure.
I'd have Michigan State.
Michigan State 2.
Yeah.
So Lonzo would go Georgia 1, Michigan State 2, Clemson 3, Oklahoma 4, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Oklahoma 4. Who's your 4? Just yell them.
Oh, man. Probably Oklahoma, yeah.
Oklahoma? Okay. I'm good with it. But, I'm looking at the ranking committee, and the problem that I have with all of it is they say we are not ranking based on this, and you very clearly are. Very clearly. Because while Alabama is a good team, I'm not arguing they're not.
What is the strength of opponent that Alabama has played? What is the margin of victory? I got to believe those factor in.
I'll look up the
strength of opponent.
According to the NCAA college football strength of schedule rankings and ratings, according to, and this is team rankings.com. Grain of salt. They say Alabama has had the highest strength of schedule in the country, 0.1% more difficult than Georgia, who is a full 2 points stronger than Florida 3, Auburn 4, Mississippi 5. You don't get out of the SEC until spot number 6 when you get to Penn State.
So you don't.
From the beginning, strength of schedule gets factored in. Great, it should, okay? Strength of schedule getting factored in, absolutely should. It is harder for an SEC team to go undefeated than an ACC team. Nobody's going to argue that. And I for the record, if I'm ranking my top 4, Alabama's in it. I'm not saying they're not. The point is, I'm not complaining about the rankings. I'm fine with Alabama being in the top 4, but they'd be number 4. Not because they don't have a hard strength of schedule, because of the results within it. I'm not giving you love for squeaking by Florida, who just got, by the way, absolutely demolished by Georgia on a neutral site. I'm not giving you love for barely eking one out against Mississippi State. They're not good. All right? They're just not. They're okay, but they're not good. Considering strength of schedule is absolutely fine. But results against that strength of schedule must also be factored in. And for a one-loss team who lost to a two-loss team who lost to 2 bad teams, that's got to be a penalty. And what's the penalty? Oh, you're number 2. Solid penalty. A solid number 2, you might say. Let's take a break. Back after this, if Alonzo lets me, on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. I don't regret my life choices. Not even a little.
They haven't played anybody. We bet $1 that I told them they wouldn't make it in the top 4.
That was a good bet. I would have made that one too, even with being undefeated.
But my thing is, again, I think they did that just so they can push the playoff, because they can say, if we had a 12-team playoff, well, then they'd be in. I'm going to grab some headphones for you as I take this stuff.
He watched the World Series clincher at home. He only told Brian Snitker and team chairman Gary McGurk about the diagnosis not to be a distraction. The Braves have announced that their parade is going to take place on Friday. Also looking at their free agents, some of the unrestricted free agents coming up for them: Freddie Freeman, Eddie Rosario, Jorge Soler, Jesse Chavez, Adrian Andrianta among the group. Download the Score app today. Lightning fast sports alerts so you never miss a thing. It's why the Score app is one of North America's most popular sports apps.
Watch it, see
With your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update.
when we come back from break.
High school football fans, I'm Cole Bryson. Get the scores, discussion, interviews, and more on the Saturday Morning Scramble, powered by Founders
Who did
Federal Credit
this?
Union. Every Saturday from 8 to 10
Whoever the last person
I'm going to
was.
the restroom before I put those on.
Okay.
Saturday Morning Scramble, ESPN Upstate, everywhere on the Odyssey app. Powered by Leaders Market, official grocery store of the Saturday Morning Scramble.
Joint pain relief doesn't have to mean drugs and surgery. Now there's a better alternative that patients are raving about.
John Boy Billy here for our friends at QC Kinetics, local medical professionals that use natural biologic treatments. Highly concentrated healing properties from your own body put directly into the affected joint, restoring and repairing damaged tissue the way your body was designed to heal.
If you're tired of the Band-Aid solutions like drugs and steroids and you really want to avoid surgery, you need to check out QC Kinetics. Regenerative, restorative, natural treatments for knee pain, back pain, shoulder pain, pain in your hips.
Don't continue to suffer and don't go in for surgery until you check this out. And if you're a candidate, QC Kinetics.
Call 864-448-3772. That's 864-448-3772. No surgical pain relief with lasting results. 864-448-3772.
That World Haunted Attraction is now open. Voted one of America's top haunts and #1 in South Carolina. Venture through the haunted house and trail full of elaborate sets, special effects, and top-notch actors. Play our creepy carnival games and escape rooms, or check out our brand new 18-hole Ghost Town Mini Golf. Grab your friends and get ready to scream. Located in Piedmont off I-85, exit 35. Buy your tickets now at MadWorldAttractions.com. That's MadWorldAttractions.com.
Nothing tastes better with movie, game, or family night than a Moe's meal kit. Well, maybe our famous queso. But don't worry, it comes in every kit with your choice of premium proteins and fresh ingredients. No taco and fajita kits will silence even the pickiest of eaters. Plus, there's no dish to eat. Because when you've got a hard day, Moe's meal kits make it an easy night. Order through Moe's.com or the Moe's app.
Spectrum Mobile is reinventing wireless again. Get unlimited on 2+ lines for $29.99 a month per line. No contracts, no added taxes or fees. Includes nationwide 5G. Save up to 60% with Spectrum Mobile. Get unlimited on 2+ lines for $29.99 a month. Call 855-438-2999 or visit the store near you. Offer valid for new customers on 2+ unlimited lines. Spectrum Internet required. Savings based on 2-line comparison of unlimited plans from major national carriers as of 9/2021. Prepaid excluded. Restrictions apply.
You want to know what wager payment is? It's the picks, the
Rob
analysis, the
McCaffrey's
information.
full go in practice today.
But do they play him on Sunday? They give him another week,
I think they'd be stupid not to play him this Sunday, honestly. They got
especially if Darnold's out.
Yeah, especially if Darnold's out. Especially the way they had 2 other running backs that can get them 200 plus without him. Now you have a real way to manage his load.
Smarter is at BetQL.com and listen to the BetQL network streaming live right now on Odyssey.
Dell's Black Friday event has arrived. And early access savings up to $300 off TVs. It's Dell's biggest sale.
The Rise guys just posted Teizoki on their Twitter. Just watching Fat Boy get tased over and over again should not be as funny as it is, but it's pretty. I would not do that. Yeah, they do stuff like that all the time. Yes.
Man, you want to be a shock jockey? You gotta go literal.
He's
shock
got,
sometimes.
yeah. Look, that one hurt him bad.
The other thing I was going to ask is y'all's time cues, like, even Rob, when you have callers on, you're like, we have 2 minutes left.
Yeah.
So we got to go up there. What's telling you that? Is it this great?
No, so my clock's right there, and I just know. So like the only hard break we have is 59.50. We have ranges for the rest of them. Now I press the clock a lot, which is why a lot of our final segments are a minute long, and also why Alonzo stares at me like I am actually Satan sometimes. But so like 59.50, we got to be out. So if I have a caller, usually around 59, I'm like, hey, I appreciate the call. We got to run. First segment, I try to be out no later than like 23 at the absolute latest. We can start getting out at what, 18? Fight Club. It's on look right there. I didn't forget. And if you want to do a segment, just do it.
You know, the fun.
I'm here for it.
That was
I'm here for it.
that- and Warren. If you watch that last fight, there's a lot of second that any of that is dissipated. You got to believe that if anything, it's escalated, and this is going to be a fun fight. In the last fight, Usman wins the 5th round. Y'all, here's it. I'm going to ask Rob, who's big in the fight game, because he's worked in it. How do you recover from a broken jaw? I mean, that's a target, isn't it?
How do you recover? Slowly.
Well, yeah, there's that.
Slowly, and by not talking, eating, drinking, doing any, specifically not getting punched in the jaw again. And sincerely, you know, a lot of fighters will tell you after they get an injury, or I mean, any athlete will tell you after, I don't really think about it. You know, you're just right. That's not how it works. That's why, and we've talked about this with Christian McCaffrey, for instance. You can say you don't think about it, but subconsciously your body is protecting that injured body part. I gotta wonder if Colby Covington doesn't fight from a distance a little more in this one to keep his jaw back.
This time.
He kind of has to, right? And by the way, Colby Covington's only fought one time since that fight. He's only been in the octagon one time. And, you know, look, I don't know that I would define, if there's a problem, I don't know that I would define it as ring rust, because obviously he's training. And dude, if you've only fought, well, you can only go there's only one way to go full speed, which is to get in there and do it, right? Like, you can't simulate full speed football. You either get in there and you play football or you don't. Well, MMA is the same way. You can do all the sparring sessions in the world, but you can't go full tilt unless there's a guy across from you trying to knock your block off. I'm a little worried that with only one fight since the last time he was in here and recovering from it, because a broken jaw is debilitating for like a while. You got to wonder if maybe he doesn't hold back just a little bit or isn't capable of going full speed yet.
And then there could be the case that, you know, he took another fight, but this is the fight he's waited for. And he really didn't want to fight anybody else, and they're giving him what he wants. And let's face it, that first fight was so good. It was as good as the hype. The hatred between the guys, it was good. I think there was more hatred on Usman's part towards Covington. I think Covington, it was a little more show. Who do you think wins this one?
I gotta go Kamaru Usman, right? Like, I gotta think he's the odds-on betting favorite, and probably, I bet you, I don't know what the line is on this, but I'd bet you, let's see, in fact, I got him right here. Kamaru Usman is a minus 300 favorite. Colby Covington is plus 245. That in an MMA bout, that's a pretty big line when they're almost 500, actually over $500 apart from each other in value. I gotta think Colby Covington's every favorite, and I gotta think it's for a reason. You got to think there's going to be some, I don't want to say trepidation, because I don't think Colby Covington comes into the fight scared. That's not his MO, but you got to wonder if he doesn't try to overprotect himself. And as you know, as I've been told in the game before, when you go overboard on defense, it can open you up because you're not throwing shots. And if you're not throwing shots back at a guy, he's really got no reason to stop coming after you. I think Usman is way the aggressor in this. And I think it ends up being a stand-up fight again, in which case I'll take Kamaru Usman.
I think Usman is minus 300, I think is what it was.
Yeah, minus 300 on the money line, which means you have to bet $300 to get a $100 win out if he wins out.
All right, I'm going to go Covington just because, and this is kind of I thought that it was pretty even going into that last fight. And I think he's got a shot at it. And this is one of those, and this happens a lot in UFC. We're seeing it some in boxing, but not as much. Of these fights that go three. I mean, you know, you get that rubber match fight between a couple guys, a couple rivals, and I want to see that. And the only way you get that is if Covington wins. And I think it's going to be very close. But I'm going to go with Covington by submission, because I'm going to think that I believe that Usman's going to come in overconfident, and he's going to set himself up for getting submitted.
I can see him being confident. All right. Before he knocked out Colby Covington, he had finished 2 of his first 10 UFC fights by knockout. Since then, he's finished 3 of the last 4 by knockout, including Covington, but he also put down Jorge Masvidal via KO and Gilbert Burns. That's a pretty stout roster of dudes to have put to sleep, and they weren't like glancing blows that got lucky. They were precision shots that took these dudes out. Usman is a better striker than he was the last time they fought. And I am concerned Covington does not go for takedowns because he's trying to protect himself too much. That's why I'm going Usman to win.
I keep getting phone calls from someone and then they send texts and say, "Is everything all right, brother?"
Brother,
I'm not answering that call. There's only one or two people who call me that, and they both work in this building.
Brother.
And the only time Rob does it is when he's doing Hulk Hogan. All right, the comment is Thug Rose Namajunas. I said it that time.
Nailed it.
Namajunas.
Stuck the landing.
Yes, I did it. I got there. I got my head for a second, but I got there versus Weili Zhang. And this is also a rematch. And, thanks to Thug Rose and some other fighters like her.
What a name, by the way.
Yeah, it's a good
What a
name.
name.
It's very fitting. They were doing the house show. Why am I forgetting the name of the house shows they do every year for UFC, where they bring all the fighters together into a house? Oh, I always Tough Enough jumps out there, and that's wrestling, and it's not. It's the other thing. They did they did one of those with all strawweights, and it had Thug Rose in there, had a bunch of other big time names right now. And my wife started watching that with me. And because of that, she became a fan of UFC because you got to know the fighters and everything. So now every time I see her fight, I'm rooting for her because of that. And my wife, again, really big time in the UFC because we watch that. And so this rematch, I'm looking forward to it, but I got to go with Thug Rose on this.
Yeah, no, 100%. Arguably the most impressive finisher in the women's division in UFC. She has got a history of putting people to sleep with like very sudden strikes. She doesn't need much of an opening, right? She needs just the smallest opening. In fact, that kick that she threw the last time these two got together, Zhang Weili dropped for that much, and she put a foot on jaw. I mean, it was one of the quickest kicks I have seen, man or woman, inside of the octagon. You cannot make a mistake with Rose because she will see the opening and finish that fight. Zhang has been a champ.
Yeah.
In fact, this is who ended her championship run.
It was.
She is no joke. She's a hell of a fighter, but Namajunas is so fast with that finishing move. You have to be perfect to get out of that octagon awake with her. I don't think Zhang Weili does it again. Rose wins.
All right, so the rest of the undercard's pretty good too, with Frankie Edgar fighting and also Justin Gaethje, but I want to get to some other stuff. And this was happening during the show. Jorge Masvidal has
noted AEW superstar
has texted out a picture of his dog saying his dog is still alive, and he did this after Conor McGregor texted out a picture saying that his dog was dead. Is this
dumbest rivalry in UFC history?
Is this just wrong? I'm not going to use the name of the show that comes on after us because I almost did it. So is this?
It's dumb. Why is everything Conor McGregor involved with the dumbest thing?
No, but you're talking about
the best dog ever.
Yeah. So that's what.
Sound like, oh, am I wrong here? It sounded to me like you were saying
Don't look to
a picture of Jorge's dog and said
no.
Masvidal's dog.
I never said that.
Gotcha.
I never
All
said
right.
that.
Then yes, that's dumb.
You know, go listen to our podcast.
I absolutely will.
106.3. I mean, on ESPN
so
Upstate.
the Notorious one said on Instagram, so heartbroken to say my dog Hugo has passed away. He was with me all the way, my closest companion, and went on to have a nice little tribute to his dog. And then Masvidal tweeted out a picture of him with his dog that said, blank around and find out, hashtag super necessary. I will go on it. That is super offsides. And I got to tell you, I have hoped Conor McGregor would lose every fight he's ever fought in. I don't like him. I think he's a turd. I think he's a loser. I think when you are punching out 70-year-old men in a bar, you deserve to get your lights turned off. However,
that dude been sitting in that bar every day for 25 years. He's pickled. You could hit him like with 10 haymakers. And then go.
Sneak shot, put him to sleep. You a punk, dog.
That
you
dude,
a punk.
that dude's a member of the Irish Mafia.
He just gotta be.
He just sent a message. That's all that was.
This is. I'm sorry, Mark and Diesel. I'm stealing your thing for a minute. It's out of tribute, not disrespect. This is way offsides. All right, listen. You gonna make a yo mama joke? All right, your mama jokes at things.
Yeah, but you don't do.
You don't do it after somebody's mouth. You want to go. You want to make a crack at a family member who did something dumb and deserved it. All right, cool. That's fine. This is way off. Somebody who lost their dog right before I moved here. I've told you earlier, I've never been in a fight in my life. One of y'all, and this is not a challenge, one of y'all walks up to me and says something about my dog. You are going to sleep. You are going to sleep. 100%. There's a line, dude. There's a line in this sport that I think even the biggest heels of all time go, you don't cross, right? You don't cross that line. They did a tribute show in what was it, Cincinnati, to Brian Pillman.
Yeah, that was bad.
And Brian Pillman's mom was there,
and his sister.
And he was cracking jokes about Brian Pillman. But here's the thing: I 100,000% guarantee you that in the spirit of wrestling, MJF talked with them and said, you know, you guys cool? How far? And they said Brian Pillman would love this. Go bananas, right? Masvidal and Conor ain't dogs. They ain't bros, all right? They ain't friends. You have crossed the line, Jorge. You have crossed the line so hard that you have got me in Conor McGregor's corner?
Yeah, that's rough,
That
man.
is messed
for you.
up,
That's
dude.
rough for you. And here's the other thing. When's the last time Masvidal won? I know you can say the same thing about Conor, but Masvidal ain't exactly been winning either.
Yeah,
so.
you ain't strapped with gold, dude. Right? You ain't strapped with gold. And now, I hope you aren't again. I want to say that this is Jorge kind of playing on the AEW thing and be like, I'm going to show you what a heel looks like. But, dude, not even MJF's coming after your dead dog. Come on, man.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's not a tweet from MJF eventually going, not even I would go there.
Yeah, I'm going to check now.
Yeah, it would not shock me.
I'm going to check.
All right, a couple of quick things in AEW. Speaking of AEW, will Paige Van Zant be the next big thing in AEW?
Speaking of, sorry, I hate to interrupt. This kid, like 5-6 years old, put up a video of him in a Darby Allin costume for Halloween, right? Like, and it's cool. He's got decked out. He's got the belt, the face paint. And MJF retweeted it with the tweet, "You have a lisp and also you're adopted." Oh my God.
All right. Yeah. Which is what
Try not to like fan pages on Facebook because my feed's cluttered up enough. I am now.
Yeah, my feed's full of nerd stuff and wrestling. So, I mean, you know, and yes, I know to some people it's the same thing. All right, so wrestling, she's getting an awful lot of airtime. Jericho is putting her over big time, especially last night.
Yeah.
I would like to see that.
I would too. I don't I thought she'd be okay. So when they started the whole American Top Flight invasion thing,
Top team,
whatever, a while back,
wouldn't want to have the 5 Forks 5 points thing happen again. Yeah.
They brought out her and Masvidal and a couple other guys, and when Jericho went in on her from the beginning. First, I was like, okay, if Jericho was singled her out, that means they're looking at doing something.
So I'm guessing you didn't see last night.
I have not watched.
Oh yeah. She said something that I hope was planned.
Right.
About taking on everybody.
Yeah.
And you just have to watch it.
I'm gonna watch it. I'll watch it this afternoon. But I knew there might be something coming. but she sold her reactions to that. Like most people in a situation where you get they do the thing where they just go and they open their mouth in a gasp and then just stare at the guy. And Van Zant, I thought legit wanted to run down to the ring and hit Jericho. And I was here for it. I'm like, that's how you sell a reaction when you don't have a mic. That's beautiful. The best wrestler, Undertaker, Kane, these guys that are able to sell storylines without saying a word. And she, for a minute, did that. I thought she might have a future in a women's division in AEW that, I'm sorry, is infinitely already better than WWE's women's division. She would be a huge addition.
It absolutely is not.
It
Right.
absolutely is.
One more thing before we go to break. Kalisto made his debut last night in AEW. Is this more proof that there's over in AEW?
No. You'll know when it's oversaturated. When you look and go, this is clearly oversaturated, which it's not.
Although you can look now and go, is this WWE or is this AEW? I don't.
I know.
They
They
don't
took
know.
all the guys that should have been good in WWE and are making them good in WWE.
Or AEW.
You know what I meant.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to help you.
You got
out
me
there.
flustered.
Yeah, I could have left it that way, but I'm a team player.
That's why we won the awards, ladies and gentlemen. He's Lonzo. I'm Rob, and we're back after this on the Rob Brown Show, ESPN Upstate.
You don't know who Moxley's replacement is.
I do not.
It would be a warrior of God.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The Redeemer.
Yes. That was one of my questions was, do you think Moxley was supposed to win that against Orange Cassidy? Because you can guess who won between Miro and Orange Cassidy.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be
ragdoll match.
And now it's going to be Orange. He held his own for a little bit. But the ending was pretty much that. But now it ends with a face-off between Miro and Bryan Danielson. Now the question is, who wins that match? I know who I'd rather see win that match.
Sure.
And that would be Miro. That probably shocked you, but
really.
I mean, everybody wants it, but they're setting it up. Whether you think it's good writing or not, they're setting it up for it to be Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega because they already did the match where time limit and everything. I want to see Miro go in there and just have a heel go after another heel and just wipe the floor with him.
I'll be good with that.
They're not going to do that.
Heel angles can be fun.
They can be.
And you can turn a guy into kind of an anti-hero, which is I would always want to be a tweener. You get to have the most fun as a tweener.
He did another one of those promos that's almost perfect. A couple of things he said, it's like, okay, that didn't work. If you took that out, man, this thing would be awesome. Including when I look up with vengeance, you look down with fear, I think was the line. It's like, okay.
I didn't know you had such a disdain for Conor McGregor, Rob.
Can't stand the guy.
He doesn't.
Can't stand him. Can't stand him. I don't mind a cocky fighter because to be in that game, you got to kind of, you know what I mean? But they're you cross lines, especially when you haven't won in 5 fights and you're still calling yourself the face. No, the only face you are is the one that keeps getting broken. Stop.
Well, it's been at least 2 because he lost the last 2 to the same person. Oh, the last one kind of wasn't his fault. He, his leg broke off of his leg.
Oh, never mind. You're busy. I was going to say next Saturday, but you are doing something. Next Saturday is Wizards night at the Swamp Rabbits game. It's a Harry Potter night.
That would be cool. That would be very cool. I will tell my daughter about it because she's big time Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So yes, I have a show every Saturday night, so I can't do stuff. So since all my people have been taken away, it's mostly me and building the ranks again. Though we'll see what happens.
Car insurance. I thought it was so easy.
Day out, even more beautiful since we saved by bundling our home and car insurance with Geico. Yard work is hard, much harder than bundling with Geico, which was easy. For burgers, we bundled our home and car insurance with Geico and saved.
It's easy with Geico. Real.
All right, wrap it up. Hour number 3. Oh my gosh, hour number 3 already. Time flies when you're having fun, huh? I am Rob Brown. Lonzo over on the 1s and 2s. Our buddy Owen Watterson sitting in with us. Well, you'll probably be hearing him on the air. I'd expect sooner rather than later with us here on the show. 844-GSP, ESPN, Ingles Market text line 71307. Texter says, I would guess that Lonzo's Facebook feed of nerd stuff and wrestling is like the Spider-Man pointing at Spider-Man meme, but that would be redundant.
No, that would be that's Michael Stathakis. Yeah, that's his favorite meme.
Texter says, if there's a fighter I would want to see their jaw get broken, it's Colby Covington. Do people have a thing against Colby Covington?
If I recall, he was a big time Trump supporter, and that's the reason I started. Someone who's for something, you know.
Going back to our college football playoff ranking conversation earlier, Texas says if Clemson was undefeated right now, that would mean they would have beaten Georgia, so Georgia could not be number 1 in that scenario.
Wow, great logic. They're absolutely right.
And they would be correct. But what I said was, and what I asked Owen was, if Clemson was undefeated and played Wake Forest's schedule, would they be there, right? Because Wake Forest doesn't have a Georgia game on the schedule. They've played the...
Well, they...
Clemson would have had a huge boost if they had an ACC schedule and had beat Georgia. They'd be number 1. I don't have any doubt. If Clemson was undefeated with Clemson's schedule today, they would be the number 1 team in the country. I have no doubt about it. But the reason I asked it the way I asked it, which is if Clemson was undefeated with Wake's schedule, was to take the bonus points from the Georgia game off, leave Georgia as undefeated. Because I'll tell you right now, if Georgia replaced Clemson with an FCS team, they'd still be number 1 right now. They'd still be number 1. So if Georgia did not play Clemson at the beginning of the year, because Clemson played Wake Forest schedule, would Clemson be in the top 4? And I think we pretty much consensus said yes, they would absolutely be, which is just further proof that whatever the committee says, we don't take preview. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Just admit that you do. I would be less upset about it if they said results on the field, strength of schedule, results against the strength of schedule, and your pedigree as a whole. Cincinnati's not in this at 8-0 with the top 10 victory on the road at Notre Dame because of pedigree. That's not a reason. That's the reason Cincinnati's not in the top 4 is because they don't have pedigree like Ohio State does, like Oregon does, like Georgia does, like Alabama does, probably lesser degree like Michigan State does, but does more so in that they're playing in conference.
I have a quick aside question. If Clemson beat Georgia, would they be undefeated right now?
I mean,
because what I'm getting at is a lot of Clemson's problems are mental. So if they beat Georgia,
I think it was like a loss of confidence thing in week 1.
Yes.
See, I mean, if that is the case, then I would have loved to have been able to grab by the face mask and gone, guys, it's week 1. This happens to Alabama's lost week 1 games before and then go on and been in the playoffs, right? It's not. It's a thing. It's week 1. What every football coach I've ever talked to has had the same philosophy, which is the biggest improvement in a team happens from week 1 to week 2 for exactly the reasons we were talking about.
But if you believe you're hyped to the point where you're walking around like we are the greatest thing ever, then suddenly you're not. That's hard to recover from if it's the first time it's ever happened.
And maybe, and that's why there are a lot of people that are saying that this is a road, but it's not the end of the road for them. It's a road bump, right? Because it's a gut check. And we've all had to get gut checks where you win something or you become the best in the game, and then you get thumped.
You know, speaking of that, because of pedigree, what we're talking about by what?
No.
Really?
Why?
You don't.
They'll be in the top. I don't think so. But it's also going to depend on, because remember, a good chunk of that's recruiting class. If Clemson lands Arch Manning, to be the starting quarterback next year, yes, they'll be a top 10 team. If they do not, depending on what the class looks like, I'd say 10 to 20. You know, but also let's see how many more games they lose. I think there's probably another loss for Clemson coming somewhere. That FSU, maybe Owen's saying too. Owen's a Clemson guy, says too. That game against FSU, y'all can say what you want. FSU is still a bad football team, and Clemson needed a lot of help to get by them. There's another loss coming for the Tigers.
And if you're down on yourself and you're facing your rival at the end of the year, you might be in for a big surprise.
Mark said yesterday he absolutely believes South Carolina can be.
Yeah, I could not say I absolutely believe it, but it is definitely a possibility. Whereas at the beginning of the season, everyone would have said no way.
I'll say it's a possibility. Straight up money line, I'm taking Clemson. Love you, Gamecocks. Love you. Straight up money line. Plus 9.5. What the? Back after this for condensed Twitter trending topics on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
True? I don't think it's true.
Some kisses begin with tequila.
Okay.
Some do begin with K. I don't think that's true. Nobody has ever had their first kiss after presenting a diamond ring. Nobody in a non-arranged marriage has ever had their first kiss before sharing a diamond ring.
Why are you proposing if you
Yeah. We got to be on like kiss like 3,000 before you're getting K.
Right.
I don't know. There's those shows where you get married without seeing somebody before.
None of those are real, right? Those are all fake.
I
They're
don't know.
all fake, right?
Pretty entertaining. I can't lie.
My wife has watched some. I've walked in on them. I haven't sat down because it's like that's just dumb. But she usually makes such well, but she also watches Dr. Pimple Popper, which I don't get. And for some reason, all women like watching that stuff, and it's like, no.
Not all women, Lonzo.
Yes. All women.
All
What I was just saying. Yeah. Dr. Pimple Popper and Lifetime around this time of year. Or Hallmark.
Hallmark
Yeah.
Channel. When a country boy and single dad moves back to the big city.
Hallmark at least has happy endings.
So does Robert Kraft. Oh, nailed it!
Oh my gosh. Do y'all have a best time for Christmas music to start playing? I didn't know if y'all were the early type of people that are.
Whenever our station down the hall
Black Friday.
decides.
I'll accept a Black Friday, but not a moment before.
I'm all in the family. Whenever our stations down the hall decide it's time for Christmas.
Nope. Black Friday. That's the
That's
earliest.
about how I am. Right for Thanksgiving, get your tree.
Yeah, I'm good with that. The guy in the apartment guy and gal in the apartment next to me set up their tree like 4 days before Halloween. And I'm like, absolutely not, unless you're decorating it for Halloween.
I made a mistake and I fixed it within seconds. All right, time for Twitter trending topics really quick. We only have a little bit of time.
A bit of a hate game this weekend. The former Patriot gets his first shot against his old team. Had a pick last week in his debut. He's going to be looking for old Matt Jones floating one or two at him this weekend.
That is why he's trending. And the other thing is, Belichick usually does pretty good against ex-players.
Yeah.
So,
no, I mean, look, we always talk about him knowing the offense, but Belly knows him too. You know,
go ahead and throw it, Gilmore, please.
Yeah.
Please go ahead and throw
I'll
it,
be interested.
Gilmore. Yeah. All right. Time for one more trending.
I'm gonna let you do this one.
All right. So, Man of Steel is trending because people are debating on social media if it is the best Superman movie of all time.
No.
I will. Before you tune in.
You tease. You're going to make us wait. Speaking of December 18th on the Upstate Pulse, guest appearance.
Don't blow what it is.
I'm not blowing what it is.
All right.
I'm just saying, make sure Saturday, December 18th, your clock is cleared. All right, that's it for us. We hand it off to Mark Ryan. He's live at the Ingles in Powdersville. Diesel's coming in to take over the chair. You all have a great rest of your day. Don't drink and drive. I'll punch you right in the face. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Tomorrow's going to get weird. Like the time Draymond Green defended Steph Curry's family in a fight. That's a real thing. It was a food fight, but it's still a fight. I'll tell you that story tomorrow on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. Later, brother.
ESPN Upstate.
Audio stream. Thanks for hanging out with us.